Chapter 578. Qin Feiyang shouted, "Fatso, I want to revive the nether devil flame. Quickly put away that strange flower." While speaking, he took a big stride and stood in front of Lin Yi and the others. He then took out the Chang Shui and kept waving it in the air. His waving movements were so fast that it was dazzling. But every time he waved, he could cut off a black demon locust. For a moment, blood splattered everywhere. In a few breaths, dozens of black demon locusts fell to the ground one after another and were cut into several pieces. But they were still wriggling. This was a process of their rebirth, but this process was very short. If they were not dealt with in time, hundreds of black demon locusts would appear in this castle later. At that time, the castle would be occupied by these terrifying creatures, and there would be no place for them to stay. At the same time, Fatso stretched out his hand to grab the strange flower, but he retracted his arm in lightning speed and hid in a corner as if he was running for his life. Because there were 3 black demon locusts entangled on the strange flower. "Look at you." Wolf King glared at Fatso disdainfully. Yes, this emperor has never seen such a timid person like you." The pangolin beast next to him echoed. However, looking at the 3 black demon locusts, they also hesitated. Qin Feiyang looked at these 3 beasts and couldn't help but feel annoyed. It seems that at the critical moment, he still had to step in. "Protect Yi and the others." Qin Feiyang shouted coldly, and the nether devil flame was fully revived. The terrifying high temperature suddenly filled every corner of the castle. Wolf King immediately condensed a battle chi barrier to protect Lin Yi and the others. Those black demon locusts that were cut off earlier were quickly burned to ashes under this high temperature. But the 3 black demon locusts entangled on the strange flower did not retreat at all. "You guys are quite brave." Qin Feiyang was afraid that the strange flower would also be burned by this high temperature, so he immediately rushed towards the strange flower. However, at this time, all of a sudden, the 3 black demon locusts dashed towards Qin Feiyang at lightning speed. Their targets were Qin Feiyang's eyes and ears. If the black demon locusts really got into his ears or eyes, his brain would probably be sucked dry by the black demon locusts. Just thinking about it made him shudder. At the same time, Qin Feiyang also noticed that the strange flower had withered and was even emitting green smoke. It was obvious that it was about to burn. "Fatso, quick!" Qin Feiyang roared. Chang Shui streaked across the sky and cut the 3 black demon locusts into pieces. Without the black demon locusts, Fatso was no longer afraid. He quickly pounced forward, grabbed the strange flower, and put it into his Qinquan bag. Very soon, the 3 black demon locusts were also burned to ashes by the nether devil flame. With a thought from Qin Feiyang, the high temperature of the netherworld demonic flame immediately receded like a receding tide. He immediately looked at Fatso and said, "Quickly let me see the strange flower." Fatso took out the strange flower. Qin Feiyang grabbed it in his hand, looked left and right, looked up and down, and finally let out a long sigh of relief. The water in the strange flower was gone, but its essence was still there, and it would not lose its medicinal efficacy. Lu Hong said at this time, "Qin Feiyang, can you throw your arm out first and watch it beat people up?" "Beat people up?" Qin Feiyang was taken aback. He looked down at the left arm that he had cut off, but saw that it was full of holes and blood was flowing out. It did look a little creepy. He had wanted to reattach it, but now he was not in the mood. He waved his hand and threw the arm out. Fatso said, "Boss, don't bring this kind of thing in next time. It's scary." "This time, I support Fatso. Let's not talk about whether or not this thing will harm everyone. Merely, your behavior is simply too dangerous. Have you ever thought about what if these things drill into your heart, your lower abdomen, or even your brain?" Wolf King said. "I had no choice. They surrounded the strange flower 3 times on the inside and 3 times on the outside. I could only take it by force. But I also calculated it in advance. At that time, I only put my arm in. If they want to drill, they can only drill into my arm. As long as I enter the castle in time and cut off my arm, they can't drill into other places. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Fine, we were worried for nothing. Wolf King rolled his eyes at him, then lay down on the side and closed his eyes to meditate. Qin Feiyang smiled helplessly. He took out a regeneration pill and a healing pill and swallowed them, then looked down at the strange flower carefully. Fatso went up, his eyes shining, and said, Boss, think carefully. What kind of treasure is this? At the bottom of the lake. When Qin Feiyang snatched the strange flower, the black demon locusts immediately went crazy and rushed around at the bottom. When Qin Feiyang threw out his arm, they immediately swarmed up. In the blink of an eye, all the flesh and blood disappeared, leaving only a white bone. Then, the swarm of black demon locusts rushed up. At the same time, above the pool, 2 young women were playing in the water. Sister, it's so comfortable. I didn't expect there to be such a natural hot spring in this damned place. The only flaw is that the water temperature is a bit too high. You should be satisfied. It's already very lucky to find a water source here. After washing off the dirt on our bodies, we'll go down and look for it. Maybe there are some treasures. The 2 women were very beautiful. Their skin was delicate and had a charming luster. Their big eyes were as clear as a mirror. Their wet hair, as well as their bodies that were faintly discernible in the water, exuded a fatal temptation. And they looked exactly the same. Even their hair was light gold. But on the shore, there were 2 blood-stained white gauze dresses. This proved that the 2 women were not simple people. And on the dresses, there were 2 exquisite qianquan bags, as well as 2 sets of underwear that would make one's nose bleed. In other words, the 2 women were completely naked in the water. There's movement below. Suddenly, one of the women stopped playing and her face became very serious. The other woman also floated on the water surface and listened carefully. Suddenly, her face changed and she shouted, Go ashore. Splash. The 2 women rushed to the shore with a splash. Then, they grabbed their respective qianquan bags and took out 2 sets of brand new dresses. Of course, they also had underwear and quickly put them on. Then, the 2 women stared at the water surface. Whoosh! In less than 3 breaths, a swarm of black demon locusts rushed out of the pool. When they saw the 2 women, they immediately rushed towards them. What? There's actually such disgusting things under the pool. The 2 women's faces changed and they immediately turned to the side of the forest. At the same time, one of the women shouted, Men! Whoosh! Immediately, in the side of the forest, a dozen figures rushed out. They were all young men around 25 or 26 years old. They were also wearing white clothes. But on their chests, there was a small word embroidered. Empty. And their bodies were also stained with blood. Their hair was disheveled and their faces were dirty. They looked quite miserable. A young man in white who rushed to the front asked, Xuening, Xuerua, what's wrong? There are black demon locusts in the pool. They're too much. They hid down there and peeped at us bathing. Quickly get rid of them. The 2 women said angrily. Black demon locusts. The young men looked towards the pool. When they saw the swarm of black demon locusts, their faces changed. But then, a row of black lines appeared on their foreheads. The black demon locusts did not have eyes at all. They only relied on smell to track their prey. How could they peep at them bathing? Moreover, they were just insects. Even if they peeped, it was nothing. Was there a need to make such a fuss? This pair of sisters really knew how to talk nonsense. But in their eyes, it was full of doting. The leading man frowned and said, "Xuening, Xuerua, didn't I just tell you to check if there's any danger in the pool? Why did you only notice them now?" "We looked, but we didn't go to the bottom of the pool to check. We wanted to wait until we were clean before going down. But we didn't expect them to suddenly rush up," the two women said innocently. Hearing that, everyone was helpless. The leading man said, "You guys, I don't know what to say. You guys are really careless. Yeah, if anything happens to you, how are we going to explain it to your parents?" A young man next to him said helplessly. Okay, we know we're wrong. Can you guys go and kill them?" The two blinked their charming eyes and looked at them pleadingly. The young men looked at each other. They all looked like they had a headache. The leading young man said, "Xuening, Xuerua, these things are not to be trifled with. Since you've already washed up, why don't you leave this place quickly? Senior brother Fenghua is right. We shouldn't stay here for long. And look, there's a large area of damage near the pool. It means that there was a battle here not long ago. I think it's the people from the other 8 provinces. Although we're not afraid of them, it's not good for us to fight with them too early. Ladies, don't be stubborn. Let's go." The rest of the people also persuaded them. "Okay. We'll listen to you." The sisters hesitated for a while, but finally nodded in agreement. "Let's go." The leading young man waved his hand. The dozen of people immediately protected the sisters and rushed into the forest. But the black demon locusts chased after them. And more black demon locusts rushed out of the pool. Obviously, they thought that group of people were Qin Feiyang's accomplices. Dong! Just as the group of people entered the forest, a figure rushed out of the pool and landed on the shore. It was Qin Feiyang. The nether demonic flame in his hand was fully awakened. The area within a few hundred meters was suddenly turned into a burning furnace. What's going on? Seeing the black demon locusts rush into the forest, Qin Feiyang was a little stunned. When he looked over and saw the group of people in the forest, his eyes suddenly focused. This group of people's aura was very strong. Based on his initial judgment, half of them should be battle masters. There's someone. At the same time, the dozen of people who entered the forest all turned their heads to look at the pool. When they saw Qin Feiyang, they were also surprised. Where did he come from? No. He's covered in water. He should have come out of the pool. That means that when we were bathing, he was hiding under the water. He's a pervert. Chapter 579. Pervert. Qin Feiyang faintly heard the voices of the two girls, and could not help but feel puzzled. Whoosh! He did not have time to think. Because when the black demon locusts saw him appear from the pool, they all turned around and rushed towards him. So troublesome. Qin Feiyang was quite annoyed. He turned around and used the phantom steps, and rushed into the forest without looking back. The direction he went was the direction Dong Xingyang escaped. He must be peeping at us bathing. You guys go and stop him. I'm going to dig out his eyeballs. Seeing Qin Feiyang leave, the sisters hurriedly shouted to the dozen young men beside them. Xuening, Xuerua, don't worry. The leading young man comforted them, and looked at the others. Did you see the words on his chest? Everyone shook their heads. The distance was a little far, and coupled with the blood mist in the air, it was really difficult to see the words on his chest. Similarly, Qin Feiyang also did not see the words on their chests. The leading young man raised his head and looked at the black demon locusts swarming towards Qin Feiyang. His eyes flashed, and said, I think this person is not peeping at Xuening and Xuerua bathing. Someone asked, then what is he doing in the pool? The leading young man said, I think he is looking for some treasure, and has already gotten it. Why do you think so? Someone next to him questioned. Did you see those black demon locusts? At first, they chased us crazily, but when this person appeared, they immediately gave up on us and chased after him. Think about it, what does this mean? The leading young man said. Everyone's eyes immediately lit up. If there was really a treasure, it must not be an ordinary treasure. Otherwise, the black demon locusts would not be so crazy. But we can't rule out the possibility that he is peeping at Xuening and Xuerua bathing. Let's chase after him, but remember, we can't be impulsive. Ask him first. The leading young man reminded. Everyone nodded. Let's go. So. Under the lead of the young man called Fenghua, the group of more than a dozen people hid their aura, avoided the black demon locusts, and rushed through the forest, trying to intercept Qin Feiyang. In the meantime, as Qin Feiyang sped along, he carefully observed his surroundings. With Dong Xingyang's intelligence, he would definitely have left behind some clues during his escape so that it would be easier for him to find them. True enough. Soon, Qin Feiyang found an arrowhead symbol on one of the tree trunks. The arrow pointed to the northwest. He waved his hand and released a stream of battle qi to destroy the arrowhead symbol. Then, he rushed towards the northwest. The black demon locusts at the back were like a swarm of locusts. Wherever they passed, the grass and trees were blown away, leaving behind a mess. However, although they were terrifying, their speed was much slower than Qin Feiyang's, so the distance between them was getting further and further. He changed his direction. Should we continue chasing him? In the meantime, Fire Beacon's group stopped on a small hill and looked at Qin Feiyang from afar. Of course. He's alone. What's there to be afraid of? Also, we don't have to be so secretive. The pair of sisters said in dissatisfaction. The young man called Fire Beacon lowered his head and muttered to himself for a while, then nodded. Xuening and Xuerua are right, I am the one who worries too much, there is indeed no need to hide. Next. Fire Beacon looked at Qin Feiyang and shouted, Friend, please wait. Then, the group of people chased after Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang, who was searching for the mark, stopped and turned to look at the group of people, his eyebrows slightly raised. From his tone, he didn't seem to have any ill intentions. But in this place, it was obvious that he couldn't just look at the surface. Moreover, this group of people's cultivation was stronger than his, so he had to be on guard. He turned around and scanned the front. In front of him was still a dense forest. However, not far ahead, there was a small valley. Whiz! He activated phantom steps and rushed towards the small valley. After a dozen breaths of time, Qin Feiyang arrived at the entrance of the small valley, but Fire Beacon and the others were not far from the small valley. Because their speed was much faster than Qin Feiyang's by a large margin. As for those black demon locusts, they had already completely shaken them off. Qin Feiyang turned his head and glanced at those people. A light flashed in his eyes, and he entered the valley without hesitation. The valley was not big, and weeds were growing everywhere. Qin Feiyang hurriedly looked around, and on the left side of the mountain, he found a dark cave. Judging from its ancient appearance, the cave had existed for a very long time. However, the valley was halfway up the mountain, and it was impossible to fly now. It was obviously too late to climb up. Because the footsteps had already arrived at the entrance of the valley. Shwa! Qin Feiyang flashed and entered the castle. The moment he entered the castle, Fire Beacon and the others strode into the valley. They stood in the grass and scanned their surroundings. One of them lowered his head to look at the ground and discovered a row of footprints. These should be his footprints. Then why don't we see him? Could it be that he's hiding in the cave above? The pair of sisters looked at the cave halfway up the mountain, their eyes filled with doubt. It shouldn't be. If he really went to the cave, in such a hurry, he would definitely leave behind traces of climbing. But from what I can see, there's nothing. Unless he can fly. Fire Beacon said. Fly. Everyone shook their heads. In this place, flying was simply an extravagant hope. Fire Beacon looked at the cave with a trace of doubt in his eyes. Why was there a cave here? Could it be left behind by a senior who had participated in the Great War of the Nine States? Thinking of this, he looked at a young man beside him and said, "Feng Wuxia, go inside the cave and take a look. Be careful." Okay. Feng Wuxia nodded and walked to the bottom of the cave. Like an ape, he quickly climbed to the entrance of the cave. Be careful. Fire Beacon warned again. Don't worry. Feng Wuxia grinned, revealing a mouthful of white teeth. This person was like his name, a very evil young man. He was about 185 meters tall, and his face was as sharp as a knife. He could be called a handsome man. His eyes were especially beautiful, like two black gems, and they were unruly. Feng Wuxia smiled at Fire Beacon and the others, then turned around and strode into the cave. Boom! But in less than 5 breaths, a loud sound came from the cave. The entire valley shook violently. What's going on? Everyone in the valley was shocked. Fire Beacon said, "Don't panic. Feng Wuxia's strength is unfathomable. Even I am not confident that I can defeat him. Even if he encounters any danger, he can escape unscathed." Indeed. Before he finished speaking, Feng Wuxia exited the cave and landed steadily beside Fire Beacon. Fire Beacon asked, "What's inside?" "A person." Feng Wuxia looked at the cave with an evil smile and said, "Sir, is it necessary to continue hiding?" Tap. Tap. Along with a series of steady footsteps, a young man walked out of the cave and stood at the entrance. He looked down at Feng Wuxia and the others. This person was about 1.8 meters tall and was quite muscular. His thick black hair reached his shoulders, and his eyes were like stars. He gave off a wild aura. Fire Beacon sized up this person. When he saw the words on the person's chest, his pupils shrank. He cupped his hands and smiled, "So it's a friend from the spiritual state." Spiritual state? Inside the castle. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. Who was hiding in the cave? At the same time, the person standing in the cave also looked at the chest of Fire Beacon and the others and frowned. "You are from the Kong state." This voice, it's Dong Zhengyang. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He didn't expect Dong Zhengyang to be hiding in the cave. What a coincidence. Facing Dong Zhengyang's question, Fire Beacon nodded and smiled, "That's right. May I know your name?" Dong Zhengyang said lightly, "We just met by chance. Is there a need to know my name?" Ah. Fire Beacon was speechless. "Yes, there is no need to know your name. But you sneak attacked me, so I must return the favor. Come down and fight with me." Feng Wuxia chuckled with an evil aura. Not interested. Dong Zhengyang glanced at him lightly and turned to walk into the cave. "That's not up to you." Feng Wuxia pointed in the air, and a fiery red battle chi appeared and blasted toward the cave like a tide. "What? You want to bully me with your numbers?" Dong Zhengyang suddenly turned around. His gaze was as sharp as a blade, extremely sharp. Feng Wuxia smiled. "Don't worry, I don't need their help to deal with you. I alone am enough." Arrogant. Dong Zhengyang harumphed coldly and waved his hand. His battle chi surged out and collided with Feng Wuxia's battle chi. Boom! In the valley, the wind howled and the ground trembled. The mountains around the valley began to collapse. Not bad. Feng Wuxia smiled sinisterly. However, Dong Zhengyang did not continue to entangle with him. When he saw the mountains collapsing, he immediately turned and rushed into the cave. Not long after. Inside the cave, another deafening sound rang out. The entire mountain collapsed instantly and turned into ruins with dust filling the sky. Swoosh! All of a sudden, a stream of light shot out from the dust. It was Dong Jingyang. However, at this moment, he rushed out of the dust with one person in each hand and fled into the forest. No wonder you don't dare to fight with me. It turns out that you have severely injured and unconscious companions. However, shouldn't you ask for my opinion before leaving? Feng Wuxia chuckled and chased after Dong Jingyang. His speed was not slower than Dong Jingyang's. Feng Hua and the others followed behind Feng Wuxia. Severely injured companions. Inside the ancient castle, Qin Feiyang's heart skipped a beat. It had been so long, but Shenlong and Feng Wuxia had not woken up. It seemed that their injuries were more serious than he had imagined. He could not continue to hide, or the three of them would be in grave danger. Swoosh! He left the ancient castle without hesitation. Looking at the ruins in front of him, he raised his eyebrows. Then, he looked up and saw the group of people from the Kong state. However, Dong Jingyang had already disappeared into the forest. Who was talking just now? Do we need your opinion on whether the people of the spiritual state stay or leave? Who do you think you are? He said calmly, but his eyes were cold. Huh? Feng Hua and the others immediately stopped and turned to look at Qin Feiyang. It's him. At the same time Chapter 580. At the same time. Feng Wuxia turned around and walked to Feng Hua. He looked at Qin Feiyang from afar and teased, I was the one who spoke just now. Are you not convinced? So arrogant? Qin Feiyang was stunned and laughed, you guys are so strong. How could I not be convinced? Is that so? Feng Wuxia's lips curled up and said playfully, but why do I feel like you're provoking me? Qin Feiyang smiled faintly, if you think I'm provoking you, then I'm provoking you. Feng Wuxia was stunned. Feng Hua and the others were also shocked. Judging from his aura, he was only an 8-star combat emperor. How could he be so confident? At this moment, Dong Jingyang walked around and came to Qin Feiyang's side. Seeing this, Feng Wuxia suddenly realized and said, so you're just stalling for time. That's right. Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled, obviously, I've achieved my goal. Feng Wuxia smiled disapprovingly and said, do you think you can escape from so many of us? Don't be too confident. Now, I'll teach you a lesson. No matter how strong you are, there will always be someone stronger. I'll play with you guys when I'm free. Qin Feiyang smiled mockingly and disappeared with Dong Jingyang and the other two. Feng Wuxia raised his eyebrows and immediately looked around. However, there was no one in sight. It was as if they had disappeared into thin air. Feng Hua said, it seems like we've underestimated him. Feng Wuxia's eyes turned cold but then he smiled evilly, it's okay. We'll meet him sooner or later. We'll settle the score then. Then we'll forget about him peeping on us bathing. Feng Hua, Feng Wuxia, you guys are too unreliable. If I knew, I wouldn't have let you guys come. The sisters snorted. Ah. The two of them were stunned and looked at each other helplessly. Inside the ancient castle, Dong Jingyang placed Shenlong and his wife flat on the ground. He got up and looked at Qin Feiyang strangely. You still have the time to peek at others bathing? Qin Feiyang's face twitched. He shook his head and said, no such thing. No. Dong Jingyang stared blankly for a moment, then said with disdain, you dare to do it but you don't dare to admit it. This is not the Qin Feiyang I know. I really didn't. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. Dong Jingyang was puzzled. If that's the case, why would those two women say that? I think it might be because of that. At that time, when I was at the bottom of the lake, trying to find a way to pluck that strange flower, I sensed that someone was bathing on it. At first, I didn't know who it was, so I didn't pay much attention to it. Now that I think about it, the people who were bathing might be those two women. Then, when they saw me coming out of the pool, they probably thought that I was a peeping Tom. Qin Feiyang guessed. Dong Xingyang said suspiciously, so, you really didn't peep? Forget it if you don't believe me. Qin Feiyang was too lazy to explain. He glanced at Shenlong and Dong Xingyang and asked, how are they? Not good. Although they're not dead, their sea of qi is broken. Unless there's a divine elixir, there's no way to save them. Dong Xingyang sighed. So it's because their sea of qi is broken. Qin Feiyang muttered and breathed a sigh of relief. But seeing his attitude, Dong Xingyang suddenly became angry and said, what do you mean? I have a way to save them. Qin Feiyang smiled, walked to the altar, and opened a jade box. A majestic life force suddenly surged out. What kind of elixir fire is this? Dong Xingyang was surprised. Inside the jade box lay a cluster of green flames, which was the fire of life. The form of the fire of life was very similar to that of elixir fire, so Dong Xingyang mistook it for elixir fire. Qin Feiyang did not explain. He took out the fire of life and placed it above Shenlong and Dong Xingyang. The vigorous life force immediately surrounded the two and seeped into their bodies through their pores, surging into their sea of qi. Qin Feiyang also sank his consciousness into their sea of qi. He found that the damage to their sea of qi was not very serious. There was only a small crack, which he believed would be repaired soon. What kind of treasure is this? Dong Xingyang was also observing their sea of qi. When he saw that the life force could really repair the crack in their sea of qi, he was shocked. Qin Feiyang withdrew his consciousness and said, let them rest here. We'll go find the others. Okay. Dong Xingyang nodded. Qin Feiyang listened carefully for a moment. When he did not hear anything outside, he brought Dong Xingyang outside. Feng Wuxia and the others had already disappeared. Dong Xingyang glanced around and frowned. This 9 nether yellow springs is boundless. Where are we going to find them? Qin Feiyang said, Ren Wushuang said that he would leave a mark on the way, so we have to go back to the pool and start from the beginning. Then let's go. The two turned and rushed towards the pool. Dong Xingyang said, by the way, how did you get rid of Mo Wushan and the others? It's quite funny. Qin Feiyang gave a detailed account of the situation back then. After Dong Xingyang heard this, he could not help but laugh. This Yen Tianfeng was really silly to the point of being cute. Boom! Crack! But at this moment, a loud sound came from the forest in the distance. What's going on? Dong Xingyang stopped laughing and looked up, his eyes full of surprise. Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice, let's go and take a look. Whoosh! The two immediately turned around and rushed towards the place where the loud sound came from. Very soon, the two sensed a strong battle fluctuation. Obviously, someone was fighting over there. As they got closer, the battle fluctuation became more obvious. Suddenly, Dong Xingyang frowned and said, don't you feel that this aura is a little familiar? Qin Feiyang carefully sensed for a while, and a light flashed in his eyes as he sneered, it's them. That's right, it's them. Dong Xingyang also nodded, his face full of coldness. More than 10 breaths later, the two of them climbed up a short mountain that was several hundred feet high. They stood in the thick grass and looked ahead. More than 200 meters in front of them, at this moment, the mountains were collapsing, and the grass and trees were flying everywhere. Waves of intense battle ripples transformed into formless waves that swept out in all directions. There were a total of 3 people fighting. And they were all people that Qin Feiyang and Dong Xingyang knew. One of them was Feng Wuxia that they had met before. The other two were even more familiar, they were Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong. How did they meet? Dong Xingyang frowned. Qin Feiyang remained silent, his gaze firmly locked onto Feng Wuxia. Although Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong's character was not good, their strength was not to be underestimated. However, at this moment, Feng Wuxia was actually fighting 1 against 2, and was not at a disadvantage. He turned his gaze and looked at the other side of the battlefield. The sisters and the others all stood there watching, without the slightest intention of going up to help. Qin Feiyang could see that these people did not help, not because they were cold, nor because they wanted Feng Wuxia to die, but because they were completely confident in Feng Wuxia. Dong Xingyang also looked at Feng Hua and the others, and said in a low voice, "The Kong region's strength is very terrifying." Indeed. Qin Feiyang nodded and asked, "Can you see through all of their cultivations?" "No." Dong Xingyang shook his head. "What?" Qin Feiyang was shocked. Even Dong Xingyang, who was a 1-star battle sect, could not see through them. Could it be that the Kong region had a 2-star battle sect? According to my observation, they have a total of 6 1-star battle sect and 10 9-star battle emperors. The person fighting with Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong is a 1-star battle sect. Dong Xingyang said. Qin Feiyang's mind trembled. This lineup was enough to instantly kill their spirit state. He asked again, "Then whose cultivation can you not see through?" Dong Xingyang's gaze turned and locked onto the twin sisters, and said, "It's them." Them? Qin Feiyang was stunned. If it was the young man in the lead, he would believe it. But these twin sisters, no matter how he looked at them, they didn't look like experts. "Are you sure you're not mistaken?" Qin Feiyang frowned. "I'm sure." Dong Xingyang nodded. Qin Feiyang's gaze focused, it seemed that he had to pay more attention to these twin sisters in the future. Boom! At this time, Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong had a huge collision with Feng Wuxia. At the same time, they spat out a mouthful of blood and their faces were somewhat pale. Dongfang Wuhan retreated a few steps, stared at Feng Wuxia gloomily, and said, "How did we offend you?" Feng Wuxia wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said with an evil smile, "You didn't offend me. Since you didn't, then why did you fight the moment you met?" Dongfang Wuhan was furious. "You didn't offend me, but someone in your spirit state did. Do you know these two people?" Feng Wuxia waved his hand, and battle chi surged out, condensing into 2 shadows in the air. Seeing the 2 shadows, Qin Feiyang and Dong Xingyang, who were standing on the short mountain, immediately frowned. Because this was their illusory image. Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong couldn't help but frown when they saw their shadows. Dongfang Wuhan looked at Feng Wuxia and nodded, "We know them. One of them is called Qin Feiyang, and the other is called Dong Xingyang." "Which one is Qin Feiyang?" As soon as they heard the 3 words Qin Feiyang, the sisters became spirited. The eyes of the others also changed at this moment. Dongfang Wuhan looked at the expressions of these people and asked suspiciously, "Do you know Qin Feiyang?" "No, but we have all heard of his rumors. It is said that he is not only an alchemy genius, but also a cultivation monster. The Lord even told us that when we came to the 9 nether underworld, the first person to pay attention to is him. So, we all want to meet him." Feng Hua laughed. Dong Xingyang shook his head and said, "I didn't expect your name to have already spread to the Kong state. It's really amazing." Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. He also didn't expect that his name would spread so far. Not only did the Cloud state know, but even the Kong state knew. Did the other major states also know? However, when Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong heard Feng Hua's words, they couldn't help but feel jealousy and hatred in their hearts. On what basis? They were the kings of the spirit state's inner palace, and the ones who should be paid attention to should be them. But now, no one knew their names, but they all knew the name of Qin Feiyang. They felt extremely unbalanced in their hearts. Chapter 581. I'm asking you, which one of you is Qin Feiyang? The twin sisters looked at Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong without worry. The two of them were already very unbalanced in their hearts. At this moment, when they saw the slight contempt in the twin sisters' eyes, they immediately burned with anger. Dongfang Wuhan pointed at Qin Feiyang's shadow and said coldly, "He is Qin Feiyang. So it's this pervert. This is outrageous. Don't let this young lady catch you, or I'll teach you a lesson." The twin sisters glared at him and said fiercely, "Pervert." Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong looked at each other with a trace of suspicion in their eyes. What was going on? Didn't Qin Feiyang never have any interest in women? How could he suddenly become a pervert? However, this was a good thing. Dongfang Wuhan frowned and said, "Since they offended you, you should go and settle the score with them. Why are you looking for us? Who told you to be their accomplices? Now, I'll give you a chance to live. Take us to them immediately." The twin sisters said. Murong Xiong said in a deep voice, "We don't know where they are." That's right. As soon as we entered the death swamp, we parted ways. We also want to know. Dongfang Wuhan said. You don't know. Then aren't you useless? Feng Wuxia, do as you see fit. The twin sisters smiled. Leave it to me. Feng Wuxia smiled evilly and walked towards the two step by step. Do you think I'm really afraid of you? Murong Xiong could no longer bear it, but just as he was about to kill Feng Wuxia, Dongfang Wuhan stopped him. What? You still want to endure it? Murong Xiong said angrily. Don't be impatient. Dongfang Wuhan secretly transmitted his voice, then looked at Feng Wuxia and the others and said with a smile, "Actually, we can cooperate." Everyone was stunned. Dongfang Wuhan said, "To tell you the truth, we also have a deep grudge with Qin Feiyang." Feng Wuxia said, "Tell me about it." Originally, the mansion master appointed me as the captain in this 9 regions war, but he instigated the others to repeatedly go against me. Furthermore, he has the face of a vile character. On the way to the death swamp, he tried his best to please the granddaughter of the manor lord. The manor head's granddaughter is rather naive, so she is easily bewitched by him. She often helps him reprimand us. This is the main reason why we parted ways. There's one more thing. He is very arrogant. He is only an 8-star combat emperor, but he always acts as if he is the most important person in the world. Even when the Great War of the 9 states began, he publicly declared that the people from the other states would be his stepping stones to enter the imperial capital. Dongfang Wuhan said. Hearing this, Feng Wuxia and the others frowned. Seeing this, Dongfang Wuhan struck while the iron was hot and said with a smile, as the saying goes, "The enemy of my enemy is my friend." We can definitely join hands to deal with him. Feng Wuxia looked at Feng Hua. Feng Hua frowned and lowered his head to ponder. This is too much. I've never seen such a despicable and shameless person. On top of the short mountain, Dong Zhengyang clenched his fists as he stared at Dongfang Wuhan. His eyes were burning with rage. On the other hand, Qin Feiyang's expression was unexpectedly calm, as if he didn't take it to heart at all. Seeing this, Dong Zhengyang frowned and said, "You're not angry at all." Qin Feiyang laughed and said, "It's not worth getting angry over such a person. You're really open-minded." Dong Zhengyang shook his head. But in his heart, he was more and more fearful of Qin Feiyang. Because in the face of such a thing, if it was anyone else, it would be impossible for them to remain calm. But Qin Feiyang acted as if he didn't hear it at all. Such a terrifying temperament was unique in the world. This was. Feng Hua finally raised his head, looked at Dongfang Wuhan and nodded, "All right, we'll cooperate, but I have a condition." Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong looked at each other and smiled. Then Dongfang Wuhan looked at Feng Hua and laughed. "There's no harm in saying it." Feng Hua retreated to the side, pointed at the sisters, and said, "During our cooperation, you must unconditionally listen to their orders." Them. The two of them looked at the sisters, their eyes filled with bewilderment. Feng Hua said, "If you can't do it, then there's no need for us to cooperate. Wait. We are, after all, the kings of the spiritual state's inner palace. Don't you think it's too much for us to listen to the orders of two women?" Murong Xiong said angrily. "You are still the kings of the spiritual state's inner palace?" Feng Wuxia was surprised. "That's right." Murong Xiong smiled proudly. Feng Wuxia raised the corner of his mouth again and said with an evil smile, "Is the king amazing?" Murong Xiong was stunned, his gaze suddenly darkened, and said, "What do you mean?" "Nothing. I just want to say, it's just a war master, what's there to be proud of? You have to be clear, it's you who are shamelessly asking to cooperate with us, not us asking you to cooperate." Feng Wuxia laughed. "TSK TSK TSK. What a slap in the face. Qin Feiyang, believe it or not, Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong will definitely cooperate with the people of the Kong state." Dong Jingyang laughed gloatingly. "I don't think so, people with a little bit of dignity will choose to leave immediately." Qin Feiyang said. Dong Jingyang said, "Then how about we make a bet?" Qin Feiyang was stunned and asked, "What bet?" Dong Jingyang said, "If I lose, I won't take revenge on you in the future, but if you lose, you have to agree to one of my requests." "Okay." Qin Feiyang nodded without hesitation. Although Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong were a bit despicable, as the kings of the spiritual state's inner palace, he didn't believe that they would be so spineless. At this moment, Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong's faces were extremely gloomy. However, in the end, Dongfang Wuhan smiled and said, "Okay, as you wish, we will listen unconditionally." "That's right." Feng Wuxia chuckled. Qin Feiyang, on the other hand, was dumbfounded. At the same time, Murong Xiong also raised his eyebrows and shouted, "Dongfang Wuhan, are you crazy? Don't talk so much, I have my own plans." Dongfang Wuhan secretly said and stretched out his hand to Feng Wuxia, smiling, "Happy cooperation." But Feng Wuxia's face was full of disdain, and he had no intention of shaking hands with him. Dongfang Wuhan resentfully retracted his arm and asked, "Do you have any plans?" "Yes." "Go find Qin Feiyang now and trick him to come here." Feng Wuxia said. Dongfang Wuhan frowned, "But we really don't know where they are now. The image crystal can't send messages, and the death swamp is so big, finding them is harder than ascending to the sky." Feng Wuxia said, "Whether you can find them or not is your business, anyway, I will only give you 3 days." "Okay, we will try our best." Dongfang Wuhan nodded and turned to look at Murong Xiong, "Let's go." Murong Xiong frowned and followed behind Dongfang Wuhan, quickly disappearing into the forest. Dong Jingyang retracted his gaze and said proudly, "Qin Feiyang, what do you think?" Sigh. Qin Feiyang sighed deeply and said helplessly, "Say it, what is your request?" "I haven't thought about it yet, I will owe you." "Of course, you can rest assured that I will not ask you to commit suicide or do anything to harm your friends." Dong Jingyang said. Qin Feiyang smiled, "I have my principles, even if you ask me, I will not do it." Dong Jingyang smiled and asked, "What are your plans next?" Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment and said, "Although Dongfang Wuhan chose to continue cooperating with them, I feel that he is planning something, so we might as well leave some clues and let them find us." Dong Jingyang frowned, "Isn't this too risky?" Qin Feiyang laughed, "Don't worry, I have a way to deal with the people of Kong province." "All right, we'll do as you say." Dong Jingyang nodded. Although he didn't know what method Qin Feiyang would use, with Qin Feiyang's usual character, since he dared to make such a boast, he must be confident. Subsequently, the two of them quietly retreated and rushed towards the pool. Soon, they came to the forest near the pool. After searching for a moment, the two of them found a word on a stone. Qin. There was also an arrow symbol next to it, pointing to the south. Dong Jingyang asked, could this be the symbol left behind by Ren Wushuang? It's very possible. Qin Feiyang nodded. Then let's go. Dong Jingyang said. Wait a minute. Qin Feiyang took out the Chang Shui and engraved the two words Feiyang below Qin, which added up to his complete name. Seeing this, Dong Jingyang frowned. What are you doing? Qin Feiyang laughed. If I don't do this, can Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong find us? Dong Jingyang felt helpless. It seemed that this guy was determined to fight with Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong to the end. Whoosh! Then, the two of them rushed in the direction indicated by the arrow. Not long after, they found the same symbol on the trunk of a big tree. The two of them were basically sure that this was left behind by Ren Wushuang. Half an hour later, they followed the mark and came to a mountain ridge. There was also a mark on the stone next to it, pointing to the top of the mountain ridge. When Qin Feiyang engraved the two words Feiyang next to the mark, he and Dong Jingyang climbed up. But when they climbed halfway up the mountain, the two of them looked at each other with a trace of surprise in their eyes. They smelled a faint smell of blood in the air. It was enough to show that there was a massacre nearby. Whoosh! The two of them rushed up the mountain ridge, stood at a commanding height, and looked down. Immediately, the two of them suddenly changed color. Below, there was a lake of about 1,000 feet, and there were obvious traces of battle around it. And on the grass on the left side of the lake, a group of people gathered. There were men and women in this group, and they all looked young with outstanding temperament. Moreover, the aura they exuded was also very strong. But this was not the point. The point was that there were more than 20 people not far from this group of people. They sat back to back, their clothes were ragged, their bodies were stained with blood, and their eyes were filled with despair and helplessness. These people were all familiar faces: Qin Feiyang and Dong Jingyang. There was Ren Wushuang, Lu Xingchen, Shen Mei, Wu Yan, Su Yang, and so on. And there were many corpses lying nearby. Obviously, Ren Wushuang and the others were in trouble. How could this be? Dong Jingyang looked at this scene, his eyes full of disbelief. Crack! Suddenly, a crisp sound entered his ears. Dong Jingyang turned to look and was shocked. At this moment, Qin Feiyang clenched his fists, his eyes were red, and his body was surrounded by a murderous aura. Dong Jingyang hurriedly reached out and grabbed Qin Feiyang's shoulder, saying, I know that seeing Ren Wushuang injured makes you feel very sad, but you must calm down now. They knew nothing about the other party's background and identity. If they rushed down rashly, not only would they not be able to save everyone, but they would also die. Don't worry, I haven't lost my mind. But these people will all die today. You stay here and monitor them. I'll go to the castle. Let me know if anything happens. I can hear your voice. After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he instantly disappeared without a trace. Hearing Qin Feiyang's words, Dong Jingyang's heart trembled, and he became more and more surprised. What was the relationship between this person and Ren Wushuang? Inside the castle. Boss, what happened? Did someone hurt Ren Wushuang? As soon as Qin Feiyang appeared, Fatso and Wolf King surrounded him, their eyes flashing with cold light. Ren Wushuang was not only important to Qin Feiyang, but also to them. Because along the way, Ren Wushuang had helped them too much. In their eyes, Ren Wushuang was their sister. Prepare for battle. Qin Feiyang did not say much, only said these 4 words, and then sank his mind into Shenlong and Jiang Wei's qi si. There was still a little crack in their qi si that had not been repaired. He believed that they would wake up soon. Fatso was puzzled. Why are you looking at them? Qin Feiyang said, our strength alone is not enough, we need to nurture a few more war masters. So you plan to nurture them? Fatso frowned. Qin Feiyang nodded, that's right, their character is hundreds of times better than Dongfang Wuhan's. They are completely worth nurturing. Fatso and Wolf King looked at each other with a trace of schadenfreude in their eyes. Those people were really blind. They actually dared to bully Ren Wuxuang. Wasn't this courting death? Although no one in their small team had broken through to the War Master realm, as long as Qin Feiyang was willing, he could nurture a large number of them at any time. Time passed breath by breath. Qin Feiyang also refined 3 9-chew yellow dragon pills. Fatso and Wolf King were a little puzzled. Who was the extra one prepared for? But they didn't ask. They believed in Qin Feiyang's judgment. At the same time, 2 figures were lurking in the forest below the mountain ridge. It was Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong. They had followed the mark left behind by Qin Feiyang to this place. Murong Xiong swept his gaze across the mountain ridge and suddenly locked onto a stone, saying, look, there's also a mark there. They should have gone up. Let's go. With a wave of Dongfang Wuhan's hand, the 2 of them quietly ran up. There's the smell of blood. Could it be that they encountered some strong enemy? Halfway up the mountain, the 2 of them also smelled the smell of blood and couldn't help but be surprised. When they reached a certain vantage point at the top of the mountain, the 2 of them looked down and their pupils immediately shrank. The vantage point they were at was adjacent to the vantage point Dong Xingyang was at, but due to the lush vegetation and the fact that they were all hiding their auras, they didn't discover each other. Murong Xiong whispered, who are they? They actually imprisoned Ren Wuxuang and the others. How would I know? Dongfang Wuhan muttered, then turned his gaze and scanned the forest around the lake. Murong Xiong was puzzled, what are you looking at? I'm looking for Dong Xingyang and Qin Feiyang. Dongfang Wuhan said. Murong Xiong said, I don't think they've arrived yet. Otherwise, seeing Ren Wuxuang and the others trapped, they would have already started fighting. That makes sense. Dongfang Wuhan nodded. After pondering for a moment, he said in a deep voice, Qin Feiyang will appear sooner or later. You immediately inform the people of Kong province to gather here. Are you really going to help them? Do you know that if you do this, when we leave the 9 nether yellow springs and return to the inner hall, the mansion master will definitely not let us go? Murong Xiong frowned. Don't worry, I know what to do. Dongfang Wuhan's eyes flashed. Murong Xiong looked at him deeply and nodded, okay, I'll believe you this time. Chapter 582. After Murong Xiong left, Dongfang Wuhan looked down at Ren Wuxuang and the others, his eyes flashing with an inexplicable light. Half an hour passed quickly. Shenlong and Jiang Wei finally woke up. The moment they opened their eyes, both of them looked confused. Qin Feiyang smiled, you're finally awake. The 2 looked at Qin Feiyang and couldn't help but be stunned. Qin Feiyang walked up, grabbed the fire of life, and put it into the jade box on the altar. He turned to look at the 2 and said, you are now in my castle, and I am the one who saved you. This is the castle. The 2 got up and looked around in surprise. Qin Feiyang said, there's no time to talk nonsense now, because Ren Wuxuang and the others are imprisoned. We have to save them. Who imprisoned them? The 2's faces changed. I don't know yet. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, but according to my observation, excluding us, there are only 20 people left in our spiritual state. What? The 2 of them looked miserable. There were 550 people, and only 20 people were left. How were they going to go on? Suddenly, Shenlong quivered and hurriedly asked, "Where's Shenmei? Is she still alive?" "She's still alive." Qin Feiyang nodded. "That's good." Shenlong breathed a sigh of relief. Qin Feiyang was suspicious. What was going on? Shenlong sighed, "To tell you the truth, Shenmei is my cousin." "Cousin?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. There was such a thing. "Actually, my relationship with her has never been good. Because since we were young, Grandpa has always spoiled her and listened to her in everything. But to me, he rarely said a word of concern and always had a very strict attitude, so I was very jealous of her. Even last time, when I learned that she was bullied by Lu Xingchen, I felt happy in my heart. But after this life and death tribulation, I've thought it through. Humans should live happily. After all, no one knows how long you can live." Shenlong sighed. "I see." Qin Feiyang suddenly understood. "You're a man, yet you're jealous of your younger sister. Aren't you embarrassed?" Wolf King interjected from the side, his eyes full of disdain. Shenlong felt bitter in his heart. He nodded and said, "You are right. The past me was indeed not like a man. Don't listen to its nonsense. I've seen old Master Shen before. He's an upright person who can distinguish between kindness and hatred. I believe he won't side with anyone. It's because we men and women are naturally incomparable. Men need to be sharpened from a young age. There's a saying that goes, if a jade isn't cut, it won't amount to anything. As for women, they are born to be loved." Qin Feiyang smiled. If a jade isn't cut, it won't amount to anything. Shenlong thought about this sentence, and suddenly his gaze trembled. He cupped his hands and said, "Brother Qin's words have enlightened me. I was really too ignorant in the past. I hope Brother Qin can help save my cousin." Qin Feiyang said, "You'll have to save her yourself." "I'll go." Shenlong was slightly startled, and frowned. "Can I do it with my little strength?" "Sure." Qin Feiyang took out 2 9-chew yellow dragon pills from his bosom and handed them to Shenlong and Jiang Wei, saying, "I specially prepared these for you." "What pill?" The two of them looked at each other, their eyes filled with bewilderment. Qin Feiyang said, "The reason why Dong Zhengyang was able to step into the War Master so quickly is because of this pill." The two of them trembled, and their eyes lit up. Shenlong asked, "Why are you giving it to us?" Jiang Wei also had a face full of bewilderment. According to Qin Feiyang's personality, he definitely wouldn't give such a precious pill to others. "If I have to give a reason, it's because you guys risked your lives to protect Ren Wuxuang and the others, to defend the dignity of the spiritual state. It touched me." Qin Feiyang said. "Thank you, Brother Qin." The two of them bowed and thanked him. Next. Without hesitation, they each grabbed a 9-chew yellow dragon pill and put it into their mouths. The pill melted as soon as it entered their mouths. A majestic energy flowed to their limbs and bones. They could clearly feel that both their bodies and their minds were undergoing a transformation. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and took out a pile of battle chi pills, saying, "Go into seclusion immediately. It won't be long before you guys break through." "All right." The two of them sat cross-legged beside the pile of battle chi pills and began to meditate. Qin Feiyang looked at Fatso and said, "I'll go out with White-Eyed Wolf to scout out the other party's situation. You have to be prepared for battle at any time." "N." Fatso nodded. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and brought Wolf King to Dong Zhengyang's side. He looked down. The group of people were still gathered on the grass by the lake. Some were washing the dirt off their bodies by the lake. Some were sitting cross-legged to recuperate. Some had set up a bonfire, roasted meat, and were eating heartily. These damn bastards. When Wolf King saw Ren Wuxuang, a cold light flashed in his eyes. "Don't worry. Soon they will pay the price." Qin Feiyang smiled coldly, turned to look at Dong Xingyang, and asked, "Did you find any other abnormalities?" "As you can see, they are very comfortable." Dong Xingyang sneered. Qin Feiyang lowered his head to look. Suddenly, he frowned and said, "Have you ever thought about why they imprisoned everyone?" Dong Xingyang was stunned. He really hadn't thought about this question. How cruel was the War of the Nine States? When the people of the two states met, they should kill each other, leaving no one alive. Because everyone was a potential competitor. But now, they only killed a portion of them and imprisoned a portion of them. Why? Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment and said, "I think either they are full of confidence, or they are waiting for someone to save Ren Wuxuang and the others." "You mean, they used Ren Wuxuang and the others as bait and want to catch all the people of the spiritual state in one fell swoop?" Dong Xingyang was bewildered. Qin Feiyang said, "We can't rule out this possibility." Crack. Dong Xingyang clenched his hands tightly, his eyes bursting with killing intent. Qin Feiyang said, "Let's go closer and take a look." Dong Xingyang nodded. "Wait." The two were about to go down, but Wolf King suddenly spoke. "What?" Qin Feiyang was puzzled. Wolf King looked at Dong Xingyang and asked, "Are you sure nothing happened before?" Dong Xingyang said, "I've been guarding here the whole time, nothing happened." It was a little strange, why did Wolf King ask this? Wolf King pointed to the neighboring mountain and said, "Then why is there the smell of other people over there?" Dong Xingyang immediately looked over, his eyes full of surprise. Qin Feiyang also scanned the mountain, but the vegetation was too dense and he couldn't see anything at all. He looked at Wolf King and said, "Are you sure?" "Of course." Wolf King rolled his eyes at him in annoyance. Could it be them? Qin Feiyang and Dong Xingyang looked at each other, immediately restrained their auras, and quietly rushed towards the mountain. Soon, they arrived at the mountain and hid behind a large rock. Looking ahead, they saw Dongfang Wuhan standing in the grass at the edge of the cliff, also looking at the group of people below. "It really is him." Dong Xingyang's eyes flashed with a cold light. He looked around and sent a sound transmission, "Why don't I see Murong Xiong?" Qin Feiyang said, "Why don't we go and ask?" "You still want to see him?" Dong Xingyang was surprised. "That's what I plan to do." Qin Feiyang said in a low voice, then walked out from behind the rock and said indifferently, "Why are you here?" Qin Feiyang. Dongfang Wuhan was shocked. When he turned his head and saw Qin Feiyang and Wolf King, his pupils immediately shrank. "I asked you a question, didn't you hear me?" Two people and one wolf walked to the opposite side of Dongfang Wuhan, looking at him with unkind eyes. Dongfang Wuhan said, "I followed your mark and found this place." Qin Feiyang sneered, facing Mo Wuxian and the others, "Why didn't I see you so capable?" Dongfang Wuhan looked at the two people and one wolf and sighed, "It seems that you still hate me." "I don't want to hate you, but I can't." Dong Xingyang snorted. Dongfang Wuhan said, "I know, at that time, I chickened out and let everyone down." Qin Feiyang waved his hand, "Sorry to interrupt, we never had any expectations for you." Dongfang Wuhan's expression stiffened, and then with a plop, he knelt in front of Qin Feiyang and the others. "What are you doing?" Two people and one wolf were bewildered. Dongfang Wuhan said regretfully, "I am already very regretful now, I hope you can forgive my foolish behavior at that time." "What's the situation?" Dong Xingyang looked at Qin Feiyang and secretly transmitted his voice. Qin Feiyang shook his head. He also couldn't figure out what Dongfang Wuhan was doing. Dongfang Wuhan said again, "If you don't forgive me, I will kneel and not get up." Qin Feiyang pointed to Ren Wuxuang and the others below, and said in a deep voice, "This matter, it's not enough for us to forgive you, it's enough for them to forgive you." "I know. So I thought of a way to rescue them." Dongfang Wuhan said. Qin Feiyang frowned and asked, what way? Dongfang Wuhan got up and said, earlier, Murong Xiong and I met people from the Kong province. I heard from them that they also met you. I believe you all know their strength. They are very strong. Qin Feiyang nodded. Dongfang Wuhan said, at that time, they wanted to kill me and Murong Xiong. Due to their strength, I could only compromise and pretend to cooperate with them. Pretend? Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and said, are you sure it's just pretending? I swear. Pretending to cooperate with them was just an expedient way to get away. But when I tracked them here and found that Ren Wushuang and the others were imprisoned, I thought of a perfect plan. Dongfang Wuhan said. Tell me about it. Qin Feiyang said. Dongfang Wuhan said, we can use the people from the Kong province to let them fight with the group below, and then we can reap the benefits. How? Qin Feiyang asked. Dongfang Wuhan said, to tell you the truth, the people from the Kong province want to deal with you now. Deal with me? Qin Feiyang pretended to be suspicious. Dongfang Wuhan's face suddenly became strange, and he coughed. I heard them say that you were peeping at the two women bathing in the pool. Cough cough. Qin Feiyang choked on his saliva. Chapter 583. Seeing Qin Feiyang's reaction, Dongfang Wuhan asked cautiously, is there really such a thing? Qin Feiyang said lightly, whether there is or not, it has nothing to do with you. Just tell me your plan. All right. My plan is, I will tell the people of the Kong state that Ren Wushuang and the others are very important to you. Knowing this, I think they will definitely find a way to capture Ren Wushuang and the others as a bargaining chip to lure you out. At that time, there will inevitably be a fierce battle with those people below. Dongfang Wuhan said. The two men and one wolf looked at each other. Needless to say, this idea was really good. On the one hand, it could preserve the strength of their side, and on the other hand, it could weaken the background of the other two states. It could be said to be killing two birds with one stone. Qin Feiyang said, so, you have already asked Murong Xiong to inform the people of the Kong state. And Dongfang Wuhan nodded. Well, we will carry out your plan, but don't play tricks, otherwise you will have no way back. Qin Feiyang said. I know. Please rest assured, this time I really want to save everyone. Dongfang Wuhan said solemnly. Qin Feiyang said, okay, let's go down and explore the situation first. When the people of the Kong state come, you directly instigate them to go down. Good. You guys be careful. Dongfang Wuhan nodded. As long as we don't fight, even if we stand in front of them, they can't touch a single hair of mine. Qin Feiyang sneered, and took Dong Zhengyang and Wolf King down. Soon. The two men and one wolf came to the foot of the mountain, using the dense trees as cover, silently sneaked towards the lake. After a while, Wolf King, who was lying on Qin Feiyang's shoulder, suddenly said, Little Qin Zi, with the people of the Kong state taking the lead, is it necessary for us to inquire about the situation? Dong Zhengyang also had a puzzled look. Of course. Firstly, both sides are very strong. Their destructive power must be terrifying. We must ensure the safety of Ren Wushuang and the others. Secondly, I don't trust Dongfang Wuhan. I have a feeling that this matter isn't that simple. Qin Feiyang whispered. You're saying that Dongfang Wuhan has other plans? Dong Zhengyang frowned. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, I also don't know. Dongfang Wuhan is more scheming and astute than Murong Xiong. It is very difficult to figure out what he is thinking. Right now, I only hope that I am thinking too much. Wolf King coldly snorted, if he really dares to scheme against us, I promise to send him to hell this time. Dong Zhengyang's eyes also flashed with an astonishing cold light. A moment later, two people and one wolf lurked beside the lake, lying on top of a small hill and looking at the lawn beside the lake. 1. 2. Qin Feiyang silently counted in his heart, and in the end, he couldn't help but frown. There were actually 36 people on the other side, and the word, Yu, was embroidered on their chests. It was obvious that these people were from the Yu province. Wolf King whispered, Dong Xingyang, what is their cultivation level? Dong Xingyang carefully observed for a moment, then transmitted his voice, 5-1 Star War Sect, 10-9 Star War Emperor, and 28 Star War Emperor. 5, 10, 20, Wolf King lowered his head and muttered to himself for a moment, then said, isn't this only 35? What about the other one? Dong Xingyang said, there is one more that I can't see through. He should be a 2-Star War Emperor. Who? Qin Feiyang and Wolf King were bewildered. Him. Dong Xingyang pointed to a certain place by the lake, his expression solemn. A man and a wolf looked over and saw a large round stone by the lake. A red-haired young man in white was sitting cross-legged on the stone. He was about 1.8 meters tall and had a high nose bridge. His eyes were as dark as ink, and his thin lips were faintly curved, giving him a cold and aloof feeling. The aura emitted from his body wasn't strong, but Qin Feiyang and Wolf King could feel a trace of threat. Without a doubt, this was a sleeping lion. By the time he woke up, even this land would be trembling. Suddenly, the red-haired young man seemed to have sensed something, and turned his head to look at the place where the two men and the wolf were. The two men and the wolf immediately lowered their heads, using the dense wild grass in front of them to hide their figures. The red-haired young man glanced at the forest, a trace of doubt creeping into his eyes. Then, he withdrew his gaze and looked up at the sky. At this time, it was already noon. The red-haired young man's gaze gradually became sharp, and said, if no one comes to save them before dark, kill them directly. Yes. The other 34 people looked at the red-haired young man at this moment and respectfully replied. Immediately. The red-haired young man closed his eyes. Although he didn't say much, it was enough to let people see his character clearly. He was a decisive and swift person. Dong Xingyang's pupils shrank, and said in a deep voice, they are indeed using Ren Wushuang and the others as bait. Qin Feiyang raised his head and looked at the red-haired young man, and then looked at Ren Wushuang and the others, and said, think about it, is there any way to get close to them? They are only 100 meters away from the red-haired young man, and there are 4 people guarding them. These 4 people are also 9-star combat emperors, it won't be easy to get close to them. However, I can send them a message. Dong Xingyang whispered. Yes. Qin Feiyang angrily slapped his head, why didn't he think of this? Dong Xingyang was a combat master, as long as it was within a certain range, he could directly transmit his voice to the other party's mind. Qin Feiyang said, immediately send a message to Ren Wushuang, tell them not to be nervous. Dong Xingyang nodded. However, just as Dong Xingyang was about to send a voice transmission, Qin Feiyang reached out his hand to stop him. He shook his head and said, let's forget about it. If they find out that we're here and reveal some flaws, it will ruin our plan. Wolf King said, then what should we do now? Qin Feiyang said, you guys keep watch here, I will go to Dongfang Wuhan's place to take a look. Be careful. Wolf King warned. Qin Feiyang nodded, slowly retreated down the hill, and turned back. Soon, he arrived at the top of the hill again, but he did not show his face. He hid behind a bush and watched Dongfang Wuhan from afar. About half an hour passed. A group of people climbed up the mountain and walked to Dongfang Wuhan's side. It was Murong Xiong, Fenghua and the others. Where's that pervert? Why don't I see him? The twin sisters looked at the lake below and frowned slightly. Dongfang Wuhan shook his head, Qin Feiyang hasn't found this place yet. A burly young man frowned, then why did you call us here? It's because Qin Feiyang hasn't come that I called you here. Dongfang Wuhan smiled and pointed to Ren Wushuang and the others, saying, do you see them? The twin sisters nodded. Dongfang Wuhan said, they are the other people of my spiritual state. These people have a very good relationship with Qin Feiyang. As long as we get them, we don't have to worry about Qin Feiyang not appearing. So it's like that. Feng Wuxia, take people down and get them. The twin sisters said. Xuening, Xuerua, wait. Feng Hua hurriedly stopped them, then seriously looked at the lake and shook his head, we can't go. Xuening asked, why? They're obviously being held captive in there. And the group of people who imprison them are not weak, they should be people from other states. If we go down now, I'm afraid we'll get into trouble. Feng Hua said. What are you afraid of? No matter how strong they can't be stronger than us. The twin sisters showed a look of disdain. Feng Hua said bitterly, two great aunts, we are indeed very strong, but you have to know that there is always someone stronger. That makes sense. The twin sisters nodded. But before Feng Hua could breathe a sigh of relief, the girl called Xuening said, if that's the case, then let's all go down and beat them up. Feng Hua suddenly felt like he was suffering in silence, unable to say anything. What? With the two of us here, you still don't dare? Feng Hua, when did you become so cowardly? The twin sisters looked at him with disdain. Feng Hua said helplessly, this has nothing to do with cowardice. Before he finished, the girl called Xuerua said, then what does it have to do with? Feng Hua was speechless for a moment, finally gritted his teeth and nodded, okay, I'll listen to you and go. That's right. Let's go, follow us to snatch people. The twin sisters waved their hands and walked down in high spirits. Murong Xiong also instinctively followed, but he was stopped by Dongfang Wuhan, who shook his head and signaled him not to go. Seeing this, Feng Wuxia said unhappily, what are you doing? Hurry up and follow. We won't go. After all, we are from the spiritual state. If Ren Wushuang knows that we are accompanying you to snatch them instead of saving them, when we return to the spiritual state in the future, the mansion master will definitely not let us go. So, I hope that you can understand. Dongfang Wuhan cupped his hands and said with a trace of pleading between his brows. Feng Wuxia raised his eyebrows. Don't say any more, just let them stay here. Anyway, it doesn't matter if they stay or not. That's right. The twins said without even turning their heads. Their tone was full of contempt. After the group of people disappeared from sight, Murong Xiong suddenly said angrily, how dare they say that about us, they are too much. Why are you angry? The one who can laugh in the end is the real winner. Dongfang Wuhan sneered. Murong Xiong was slightly taken aback and whispered, what are you planning? Of course, it's to provoke them to war. Now that Qin Feiyang and the others are also down there, when the people of the Kong state go down, the three sides will definitely have a bloody battle. When the time comes, when both sides are injured, we will go down and annihilate them all. Dongfang Wuhan said, his eyes flashing with a terrifying light. Hearing this, Qin Feiyang, who was standing behind the bush, couldn't help but feel a chill all over his body. He guessed that Dongfang Wuhan might be planning something, but he didn't expect that Dongfang Wuhan would actually play such a big game of chess. At the same time, Murong Xiong was also shocked. After a while, he recovered and said, aren't you afraid that the mansion master will settle accounts with us? Afraid of what? As long as we do it cleanly, who will know that we killed Ren Wushuang and the others? Dongfang Wuhan smiled confidently. Murong Xiong shook his head and said, it's too crazy, aren't you afraid that the plan will fail? If it fails, we will be digging our own grave. Don't worry. Qin Feiyang and the others don't know my plan. If the plan fails, we will go down and help Qin Feiyang and the others kill the people of the Kong state and that group of people. In this way, when the time comes, Qin Feiyang and Ren Wushuang may even be grateful to us. Dongfang Wuhan chuckled. It turns out that you have a backup plan, brilliant. Murong Xiong suddenly realized and immediately gave Dongfang Wuhan a thumbs up. Brilliant. Qin Feiyang, who was standing behind the bush, couldn't help but purse the corners of his mouth with a trace of ridicule. Want to be the Oriole? Let's see if you have the ability. Chapter 584. On a hill, Dong Jingyang and Wolf King were closely monitoring the situation of the people from Yuzhou. Whoosh! Suddenly, there was a piercing sound. They thought it was Qin Feiyang, but when they turned their heads, they found that it was Feng Wuxia and the others from the Kong prefecture. They immediately lowered their heads and hid in the grass, restraining their aura to the extreme. Feng Wuxia and the others didn't restrain their aura at all and rushed toward the lake. The people of Yuzhou also sensed their auras as soon as they arrived. Immediately, everyone rushed up and gathered around Ren Wuxuang and the others. Are they finally here? The red-haired young man sitting cross-legged on the stone murmured to himself and suddenly opened his eyes. Two bright beams of light burst out of his eyes. A dozen breaths later, Feng Wuxia and the others rushed past the hillside and didn't find Wolf King and Dong Jingyang. They went straight into the grassland and stopped 50 meters away from the people from Yuzhou. The two groups of people looked at each other from a distance, and the atmosphere suddenly became heavy. Feng Wuxia glanced at the red-haired young man and the others and smiled evilly. So you are from Yuzhou? On the Yuzhou side, a man in white frowned. You are from the Kong prefecture? Yes. Feng Wuxia nodded and pointed at Ren Wuxuang and the others. Give them to us. Regardless of whether it was his demeanor or his tone, he was clearly overbearing. The people of Yuzhou couldn't help but be enraged. The man in white said in a deep voice, they are from the spiritual state. What do you want them to do? Feng Wuxia said, it's none of your business. Just say it, are you going to give them to us or not? The man in white looked at the red-haired young man. The red-haired young man remained silent and glanced at Feng Wuxia and the others with a frown. He thought they were from the spiritual state, but they were from the Kong prefecture. And they were all powerful. Ren Wuxuang and the others also looked at Feng Wuxia and the others in confusion. What do these people want? Feng Wuxia also looked at the red-haired young man, but he didn't show any fear. My patience is limited. I advise you to make a decision quickly. The Kong prefecture and the spiritual state have formed an alliance. The red-haired young man asked. His tone was still calm, without the slightest ripple. Alliance? The Kong prefecture's people were stunned. Ha, next. The group of people roared with laughter as if they had heard the funniest joke in the world. Feng Wuxia said proudly, do they have the right to form an alliance with the Kong prefecture? Ren Wuxuang and the others immediately glared at Feng Wuxia. Am I wrong? I've met most of the people in the spiritual state, and none of them are good enough. Feng Wuxia said disdainfully. You have? Ren Wuxuang was shocked and asked, you've seen Qin Feiyang? Of course. Feng Wuxia nodded. Ren Wuxuang's heart sank. Where is he now? Feng Wuxia smiled. He's already dead by my hands. Kill him. Ren Wuxuang's body and mind trembled, and his face instantly turned deathly pale. Wu Yan and the others were also filled with despair. If even Qin Feiyang was killed, wouldn't the spiritual state be completely finished? At the same time, the people from the Yuzhou prefecture couldn't help but frown. On the hillside, Wolf King retracted his gaze and turned to look at Dong Jingyang. Look at what's in the sky. Dong Jingyang looked up and frowned. There's nothing. Wolf King said disdainfully, are you blind? Can't you see the cows flying in the sky? Dong Jingyang was speechless. At this moment, Qin Feiyang lurked over and lay beside Wolf King. He looked at Feng Wuxia and the others by the lake and asked in confusion, why haven't they started fighting yet? Wolf King pursed his lips and said, they're bragging. bragging? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Dong Jingyang shook his head and smiled. Just now, the people from the Kong prefecture said to Ren Wushuang and the others that you have died in their hands. Qin Feiyang's face twitched. No wonder Ren Wushuang's face was filled with anger. So it was because of this. Dong Jingyang whispered, should we send a voice transmission to Ren Wushuang and tell him that you're safe? No need, it's more realistic this way. But why aren't they talking now? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. The people from the Kong prefecture are pretending to be profound to scare Ren Wushuang and the others. As for the people from the Yuzhou prefecture, Wolf King glanced at the red-haired youth and the others and shook his head. I don't know either. They were talking a lot before, but when they heard that you were dead, they all fell silent. There's only one explanation for this. As soon as Wolf King finished speaking, Dong Jingyang's voice sounded in their heads. What explanation? Wolf King looked at him suspiciously. Dong Jingyang didn't answer. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, I believe you've guessed it too, right? Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Hey, do you think I'm heir? Wolf King said angrily. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes and said, I think the people from the Yuzhou prefecture should be coming for me too. Ah. Wolf King was stunned. You're really narcissistic. Then. Wolf King rolled his eyes at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang didn't want to talk nonsense with him. He looked up at the people from the Yuzhou and Kong prefecture. A moment later. The red-haired youth from the Yuzhou prefecture moved. He looked at Feng Wuxia and asked, did you really kill Qin Feiyang? Of course. Feng Wuxia nodded. If that's the case, the red-haired youth's eyes flashed coldly. He turned his head to look at the burly man in white and said, they have no value anymore. Kill them all. Understood. The burly man in white nodded. Wu Yan and the others also turned pale and looked at Ren Wushuang for help. Can you have some backbone? It's just death, what's there to be afraid of? Ren Wushuang shouted. So fierce. Unfortunately, you're not from the Yuzhou prefecture. The burly man in white shook his head regretfully. His eyes suddenly surged with coldness as he shouted, do it. Immediately. The aura of the people surrounding Ren Wushuang suddenly erupted. Bastard. Seeing this. Dong Jingyang cursed and rushed towards Ren Wushuang and the others. But Qin Feiyang grabbed him and whispered, don't be impulsive, the people from the Kong prefecture won't let Ren Wushuang and the others die. As expected. Just as the burly man in white and the others attacked, Feng Wuxia took a step forward and his aura erupted like a volcano, rolling in all directions. Don't you dare touch them without my, Feng Wuxia's, permission. His tone was extremely domineering. It seems that the Kong prefecture wants to start a war with the Yuzhou prefecture. The burly man in white suddenly turned around and an aura that was not inferior to Feng Wuxia's erupted. Start a war. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Feng Wuxia snickered and didn't hide his disdain. So arrogant? Then I'd like to see how long you can last under my attack. The burly man in white waved his hand and a golden battle chi surged out like a tide, dyeing the land within a few thousand meters with a layer of gold. Wait. But at this moment, Feng Hua, who had been silent, put his hand on Feng Wuxia's shoulder and looked at the red-haired youth. During this time, he had been observing the people from the Yuzhou prefecture. He found that although the red-haired youth didn't talk much, he was the key figure in the Yuzhou prefecture. What's wrong? Are you afraid? The burly man in white sneered. Afraid? To be honest, although you're strong, it's not to the point that I, Feng Hua, am afraid. I just don't want to fight with you too early. How about this, let's make a bet. Feng Hua smiled faintly. The burly man in white said with disdain, do you think it's necessary? Yes. Feng Hua nodded and said lightly, if we really fight now, both sides will suffer, which is not good for anyone. You're that confident? The burly man in white sneered. Feng Hua smiled, if I don't even have this much confidence, would I dare to come to the Nine Nether Underworld? The burly man in white's eyes turned cold and a murderous aura surged out of his body. But at this moment, the red-haired youth said, Fu Shan, let him continue. The burly man in white frowned and seemed dissatisfied, but he didn't dare to disobey. He looked at Feng Hua with a gloomy expression and said, speak. Feng Hua smiled, we'll each send one person and decide the winner in one battle. The people of the spiritual state will belong to whoever wins. You're too calculative. The people of the spiritual state are now in our hands. Do you think such a bet is fair? Fu Shan was so angry that he laughed. The others were also furious. Feng Hua smiled faintly, if you're a confident person, you definitely won't discuss whether it's fair or not. In other words, he was saying that Fu Shan was not confident. This person's mind is a bit scary. Qin Feiyang whispered. This person called Feng Hua was too good at scheming and would very likely become a strong opponent in the future. I'm not confident. Haha, just based on your words, I agree to your bet. Fu Shan laughed out loud and took a step forward. He glanced at the people of the Kong state and said coldly, who will fight with me? Of course it's me. The corner of Feng Wuxia's mouth raised, he turned to look at Feng Hua and the others and asked, you guys don't have any objections, right? Do we dare to have any objections? Feng Hua shook his head and smiled bitterly. With a wave of his hand, his battle chi surged and condensed into a barrier that enveloped the people around him. At the same time, the red-haired youth frowned slightly. He was very dissatisfied with Fu Shan's decision, but he did not say anything. He also condensed a barrier to protect Ren Wushuang and the others from the Yuzhou state. Seeing this, Dong Xingyang raised his eyebrows and looked at Qin Feiyang. If they really decide the winner in one battle, wouldn't our plan be ruined? Qin Feiyang nodded, thought for a while and said, don't worry, let's see the situation first. Let's begin. At this time, Feng Hua's voice sounded. Boom. Before his voice faded, Feng Wuxia and Fu Shan took a step forward at the same time and charged towards each other. Their auras soared into the sky. I don't know if you've heard of the saying, strong on the outside but weak on the inside. You belong to this kind of person. As he approached, Feng Wuxia opened his mouth and laughed, revealing a mouthful of white teeth. The previous repeated provocations had already made Fu Shan very angry. Now that he heard this, how could he not be angry? Because Feng Wuxia was mocking him. He looked strong on the outside, but in fact, he was weak on the inside and could not withstand a single blow. Arrogant bastard, go to hell. Fu Shan clenched his 5 fingers and with a roar, he threw a punch at Feng Wuxia. You're not strong enough. Feng Wuxia chuckled, but his eyes flashed with a scheming smile. He did not dodge and slapped out with his palm. In the blink of an eye, the fist and palm collided. Chapter 585. Boom. Swoosh. The surrounding mountains and earth collapsed crazily. The lake beside them also shattered instantly. The lake water turned into torrents that flooded in all directions. The small hill where Qin Feiyang and the others were on did not escape the fate of being destroyed and turned into ashes in an instant. Fortunately, Qin Feiyang reacted in time and brought Dong Xingyang and Wolf King to hide in the castle. It was not because he was afraid, but because he was worried that his whereabouts would be exposed. Inside the castle, seeing Qin Feiyang appear, Shenlong asked, when are we going to make our move? Qin Feiyang glanced at Shenlong and Jiang Wei. The aura emitted by the two of them was completely different from before. It was obvious that they had broken through. Don't worry, it will be our turn to counterattack soon. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed coldly and he appeared outside with Dong Xingyang. The place was shrouded in dust. The two of them concealed their auras and used the dust as a cover. They quickly retreated to a safe distance and stood on a big tree, silently watching the battlefield. "Is this all you've got? I'm a little disappointed." Suddenly, Feng Wuxia's evil laughter came from the dust. Immediately after, a gust of wind appeared on the battlefield, sweeping up all the dust and turning it into a sandstorm that surged into the distance. At that moment, everything was revealed. Feng Wuxia and Fu Shan both took a few steps back. There was a trace of blood at the corner of their mouths, but their expressions were different. Feng Wuxia was still as evil as ever. Fu Shan was like an enraged beast, his eyes bloodshot. Dong Xingyang glanced at the two of them and said with a voice transmission, "It seems that their strength is on par." Qin Feiyang nodded. "Indeed, but Feng Wuxia has a higher chance of winning." Dong Xingyang was stunned and asked suspiciously, "Why do you say that?" Qin Feiyang said, "Before the battle, Feng Wuxia said that he was strong on the outside but weak on the inside. It was not just a casual remark." "What do you mean?" Dong Xingyang frowned. "If you want to attack a person, you have to attack their heart first." The reason Feng Wuxia said that was to infuriate Fu Shan. That's because once a person enters a state of rage, their judgment and battle awareness will deteriorate. And obviously, Feng Wuxia has achieved his goal. Qin Feiyang said. Dong Xingyang carefully pondered over these words and nodded. That's right. When two people of similar strength fight, the mentality is especially important. Once the mentality is out of balance, it will inevitably end in defeat. I just don't know if Fu Shan has realized this. Qin Feiyang muttered. If he calmed down now, it was not too late. But if this continued, the final winner would be Feng Wuxia. In the blink of an eye, the enraged Fu Shan once again charged towards Feng Wuxia. With your strength, I really don't understand how you have the guts to participate in the Great War of the Nine States. Feng Wuxia continued to taunt. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, the two clashed. However, Feng Wuxia only defended and did not attack. Occasionally, he would taunt him. On the other hand, Fu Shan was getting crazier and more irritable. He was almost losing his mind. The evenly matched situation gradually lost its balance. Unknowingly, Feng Wuxia began to gain the upper hand. Suddenly, when Feng Wuxia retreated, he did not notice that there was a crack behind him. He stepped on empty air and his body staggered and fell backward. Good chance. Fu Shan's eyes lit up. Without hesitation, he pounced forward. Battle chi gushed out of his palm and he slammed it towards Feng Wuxia's chest. But did Feng Wuxia really not notice the crack? No. He did it on purpose. Just as Fu Shan pounced forward, the corner of his mouth curled into a playful smile. He suddenly lifted his foot and kicked Fu Shan's lower abdomen. Ow! Immediately, Fu Shan let out a miserable howl like a pig being slaughtered. His entire body was directly kicked out and slammed into the ground not far away. Puff! Then, he spat out a mouthful of blood. His rough face was incomparably pale. At the same time, Feng Wuxia jumped up like a carp and stood firmly on the ground. He looked up at Fu Shan who was buried in the mud and laughed. Do you see that? This is the difference between you and me. How dare you plot against me? I'll tear you into pieces. Fu Shan roared. His eyes were instantly bloodshot. He then turned over and got up. He stretched out his hand in the air. Battle chi poured out from his body like a tidal wave. In the blink of an eye, above his head, a golden axe appeared out of thin air. It was as big as a millstone and emitted a dazzling light. Yo! Are you sure you can do it? Why are you using your battle art so soon? Feng Wuxia let out a strange cry. Bastard, go to hell. Fu Shan roared hysterically. The veins on his neck popped out. As he waved his hand, the giant axe above his head released a terrifying aura and slashed towards Feng Wuxia. It seems that this person is bound to lose. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Although Feng Wuxia had been using words to provoke Fu Shan still had a trace of rationality before he was plotted against. But now, Fu Shan was completely blinded by anger. However, he was puzzled. As the saying goes, the onlooker sees the game clearly. Why didn't the people from Yuzhou remind Fu Shan? Taking a step back, even if the others from Yuzhou didn't realize this, wasn't there still the red-haired youth? To be able to become a key figure in Yuzhou, this person must be extraordinary. He should have noticed Fu Shan's situation long ago. Why was he silent? Could it be that he was like Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong, looking forward to the death of his people? The battle was still going on. Feng Wuxia looked at the golden axe and shook his head. You want to kill me with such a small axe? Can you stop daydreaming? As soon as he finished speaking, a flame soared into the sky and formed a sea of fire above his head, shining in all directions. At this moment, Feng Wuxia's long hair and clothes fluttered in the wind. Flames surged around his body and his face was cynical. He was like a peerless evil god that ruled the world. Fire Beacon City. As he spoke, 2 castles appeared in the sea of fire. The 2 castles seemed to be cast from magma. They were completely red and were more than 100 feet tall. They were like 2 huge mountains in the sky and had an astonishing aura. Idiot with developed limbs, take this. Feng Wuxia chuckled and raised his arm. He gently flicked his index finger. Boom! One of the castles suddenly sank down, as if Mount Tai was pressing down on them, crashing towards the golden giant axe. At this moment, with a deafening sound, the castle and the giant axe collapsed at the same time. It's not over yet. Continue. Let me remind you again. This time, the speed is very fast. Feng Wuxia grinned and flicked his index finger again. The second castle suddenly fell and charged toward Fu Shan town. His action was extremely frivolous and he didn't take Fu Shan seriously at all. This made Fu Shan go crazy. However, as Feng Wuxia said, the speed of the second castle was several times faster than the first castle. Fu Shan didn't have time to evolve his battle art to counterattack. However, he didn't seem to have any intention of evolving his battle art. He didn't have any intention of dodging. His eyes were surging with incomparable madness. The castle was surging with waves of fire. At first glance, it looked like a meteorite from outer space. In the blink of an eye, it had already landed on top of Fu Shan's head. The ground under Fu Shan's feet couldn't withstand such an imposing aura and began to tremble violently. On the ground, a bottomless black abyss cracked open at the speed of lightning. Open your eyes and watch carefully. I can crush your battle art with my bare hands. At this moment, Fu Shan roared and clenched his 5 fingers tightly. He threw a punch at the castle. Is this guy crazy? He's really going to fight a battle art with his bare hands? Dong Jingyang was dumbfounded. Feng Hua and the others in Kong State were also shocked. Even Qin Feiyang was shocked by Fu Shan's crazy behavior. Boom! In the blink of an eye, Fu Shan's fist and the castle collided. There was no suspense. No matter how Fu Shan resisted, he couldn't resist the suppression of the castle. In almost an instant, the castle slammed into the ground and Fu Shan was directly blasted into the ground. At the same time, there was a painful scream. He's dead. Dong Jingyang frowned. It seemed that his plan was really ruined. Feng Wuxia glanced at the castle and snorted disdainfully. He looked up at the red-haired young man from Yuzhou and said with a smile, "Accept your loss. Don't go back on your word." The red-haired young man glanced at him indifferently and turned his head to look at the castle in silence. Feng Wuxia shook his head and said, "Don't look. My battle art is a superior one. He can't be alive." The red-haired young man remained silent and seemed extremely calm. "Are you trying to exhaust my patience?" Feng Wuxia immediately raised his eyebrows. Boom! But as soon as he finished speaking, with an earth-shattering bang, the castle suddenly fell apart. A big man drenched in blood rushed out from the ground. Who else could it be but Fu Shan? But at this moment, his clothes were ragged and he looked like a beggar. His body was covered with wounds. The arm that shook the castle had been shattered and blood was gushing out. "That's impossible." Seeing Fu Shan jump out alive, Feng Wuxia couldn't help but frown. Feng Hua and the others also frowned. They couldn't accept it. "Is it a fluke that he survived?" Qin Feiyang muttered. However, regardless of whether it was a fluke or not, the current Fu Shan was completely different from the previous Fu Shan. Although Fu Shan was heavily injured, there was not the slightest bit of anger on his face. He was calm and collected. Suddenly, the red-haired young man said indifferently, "Fu Shan, do you know your shortcomings now?" "Yes." Fu Shan nodded and cupped his hands. "Thank you for the reminder, senior brother Wan Qiu." "Reminder?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. When did the red-haired young man remind him? Dong Xingyang said, "You forgot that a battle master can secretly send a message." "Ah." Qin Feiyang was stunned. He then patted his forehead and smiled bitterly. He always forgot that he had not broken through to the battle master realm. In that case, it was not the castle that suppressed Fu Shan underground. It was Fu Shan who took the initiative to go underground. Because at that time, going underground was the only way out. Only then could he save his life. "Go, let him see your true strength." The red-haired young man spoke again, but his tone was no longer calm. There was a bone-piercing sharpness to it. "N." Fu Shan nodded and took out a regeneration pill and a healing pill. He then turned to look at Feng Wuxia and said, "I've let you be proud for so long. It's time for you to suffer." TSK. Feng Wuxia was disdainful. Chapter 586. Boom! The battle between the two began again. But this time, Feng Wuxia did not provoke him. Because he knew that no matter what he said to Fu Shan, he would not be able to provoke him. Crack! Boom! The two of them fought from the east to the west, and then from the west to the north. Everywhere they passed, mountains collapsed and the earth caved in. It was as if the end of the world had arrived. Dong Xingyang said, "Fu Shan's combat strength has been fully unleashed. He's quite strong." Qin Feiyang nodded. Although Fu Shan did not die in Feng Wuxia's hands, his injuries were very serious and he had lost an arm. Although he had taken the healing elixir and regeneration elixir, it would take some time for him to recover. In other words, Fu Shan was now fighting with Feng Wuxia with serious injuries. And he was fighting with one hand. But even so, he did not show any signs of being defeated and was locked in a fierce battle with Feng Wuxia. Feng Wuxia would not be able to defeat him in a short period of time. If Fu Shan had not lost his mind, it would be hard to predict the outcome. Boom! All of a sudden, Fu Shan's aura exploded and a bright golden light rose from his back and rushed into the sky. There was an axe in the golden light. It was the size of a palm and looked as if it was made of gold. It emitted a dazzling light. That was his fighting soul. Everyone could not help but hold their breaths when they saw this scene. Once the fighting soul was activated, it meant that Fu Shan was serious. Who would be the final victor? Kill! Fu Shan waved his hand and a palm-sized axe cut through the sky and slashed at Feng Wuxia. Its sharp edge tore the earth apart. Feng Wuxia looked at the axe and the corners of his mouth lifted slightly. Chirp. The next moment, accompanied by a shrill cry, a wave of fire rushed out from his back. What? That's his fighting soul. Am I seeing things? Dong Jingyan was dumbfounded. The people from Yuzhou were also shocked. Even Qin Feiyang and the red-haired youth's pupils constricted in shock. Feng Wuxia's fighting soul was a ferocious bird. It was dozens of feet tall and was surrounded by flames. It flapped its fiery red wings and soared into the sky. For a moment, the wind howled in this place, and sand and stones flew everywhere. At this moment, it had turned into a scorching hot place in an instant. Everyone was drenched in sweat. Chirp. After the ferocious bird soared into the sky, it turned in the air and swooped down like a bolt of lightning. Like a falcon, it used its sharp claws to grab the axe. No matter how big it is, it's just a chicken. Fu Shan shook his head with a wisp of disdain between his brows. Rise. Following closely. Fu Shan let out a low roar, and the palm-sized axe immediately swelled with the wind. In the blink of an eye, a huge axe appeared out of nowhere. It was bigger than the ferocious bird, and its edge was even more terrifying than before. Chicken. However, Feng Wuxia's expression changed when he heard Fu Shan's words. The evil aura of the past had disappeared, and there was a trace of gloominess in his eyes. He glared at Fu Shan and said coldly, "Say it's a chicken again if you have the guts." "Isn't that so?" Fu Shan sneered. "You're courting death." Feng Wuxia's eyes were filled with murderous intent as he said coldly, "Innate superpower, eyes of the fire phoenix, destroy." At that moment, the ferocious bird that swooped down blinked its eyes, and two fiery red beams of light burst out of its eyes, like two pillars of fire, and blasted towards the golden axe. "Do you think only your fighting soul has an innate superpower?" Innate superpower, heaven-splitting fury. Fu Shan's eyes were like torches. As his voice fell, the golden axe slashed in the air, and a golden blade of light suddenly swept out. Boom! In an instant, the blade of light and the beam of light collided, like two meteorites colliding, and a destructive aura erupted, covering the sky and earth in all directions. The land within a radius of a few miles was instantly razed to the ground. At the same time, the beam of light and the blade of light were in a stalemate in the void, and neither was able to gain the upper hand. No wonder he's the king of two continents. Even his fighting soul has an innate superpower. Qin Feiyang muttered. There were also differences in fighting souls, so not every fighting soul had an innate superpower. In other words, a fighting soul with an innate superpower would definitely be a high-level fighting soul. Dong Jingyan transmitted his voice, "Who will win?" "Without a doubt, it's Feng Wuxia," Qin Feiyang said firmly. This was because Feng Wuxia's fighting soul was simply too shocking. After wandering for so many years, in so many places, other than Wolf King, Feng Wuxia's fighting soul was the only one that made him feel wary. It was just as he had expected. The blade of light gradually lost and was forced back by the beam of light. In the end, with a crack, it shattered into pieces. Puff! Fu Shan's body trembled, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Trash! Feng Wuxia looked at Fu Shan and spat out these two words in disdain. At the same time, the beam of light collided with the giant axe like lightning. Clang! The giant axe also shattered with a loud bang. For Fu Shan, this was undoubtedly one disaster after another. His body trembled violently, and blood gushed out from his mouth. His eyes were filled with disbelief. He was actually defeated. They were both one-star battle ancestors, and both fighting souls had innate superpower, but why was the gap between him and Feng Wuxia so huge? He really couldn't accept it. Boom! Just as Fu Shan was distracted, the beam of light pierced through the sky, carrying with it an aura of death, and blasted towards Fu Shan's head. The red-haired youth raised his eyebrows and shouted, "Fu Shan." His voice was like a bell, and it entered Fu Shan's mind. Fu Shan immediately came back to his senses. But at this moment, the beam of light was only 5 to 6 meters away from him, and it would arrive in the blink of an eye. This time, it was really impossible to dodge. Fu Shan gritted his teeth and raised his arm again. Battle chi surged, and he punched the beam of light with his bare hands. During this time, his arm that was shattered by the castle had already been repaired. But even so, what he did was equivalent to courting death. Boom! In a flash, the fist and the beam of light collided. Immediately. Fu Shan let out a blood-curdling scream, and his entire body flew out. Not only was his arm shattered again, but even his body was covered in bloody wounds. Blood spurted out like a fountain. Even his innate superpower can be destroyed. I have to admit, he is really strong. Dong Jinyang's pupils constricted tightly. The people from Yunzhou, Kongzhou, and Yuzhou were already so strong. Were the people from the other major states as strong as them? Would they be stronger than them? Originally, he was quite confident in the overall strength of the spiritual state. But now, he felt terrified. The huge pressure was like a huge rock pressing down on his heart. It was very heavy. But at this time, Qin Feiyang said, "Actually, there's nothing to be surprised about. If it were you, you could do it too. Are you making fun of me?" Dong Jinyang frowned. Qin Feiyang's face trembled. When did Dong Jinyang's imagination become so rich? Feng Wuxia's battle soul's innate superpower was indeed very strong. If there were no obstacles along the way, it would definitely be able to kill Fu Shan. But before, it first collided with Fu Shan's battle soul's innate superpower, and then with the battle soul, which would weaken most of its power. That was why Fu Shan could shatter the beam of light with one punch. In the blink of an eye. Just as Fu Shan shattered the beam of light with one punch, Feng Wuxia's eyes were filled with killing intent. Chirp! Accompanied by a sharp screech, the fierce bird hovering above his head spread its huge wings. Suddenly, the wind blew and the fire waves covered the sky as it swooped down towards Fu Shan. And its speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it landed above Fu Shan's head. The terrifying power made Fu Shan couldn't help but feel a chill all over his body. "I admit defeat," he said without hesitation. Immediately, the people of the Kong state all had bright smiles on their faces. The people of the Yuzhou state all lowered their heads, feeling that Fu Shan's admission of defeat made them lose face. "You shouldn't have left a mark and let Dongfang Wuhan find us." Dong Jinyang looked at Qin Feiyang reproachfully. If everything went according to their plan, it would indeed be a good thing to kill two birds with one stone. But now, the people of the two states didn't fight to the death and only used one battle to determine the winner, which put them in an awkward position. Because if they jumped out to save people now, they would definitely face the joint attack of the two states. However, in the face of Dong Jinyang's reproach, Qin Feiyang turned a deaf ear and his eyes flickered. Seeing this, Dong Jinyang couldn't help but be angry, and said angrily, "If you don't save them, I will." Because of Fu Shan's admission of defeat, the people of both sides were now a little relaxed. If they wanted to save people, this was the best opportunity. Don't go. Fu Shan's death is already destined. Because the current Feng Wuxia is already angry and will not give him any chance to struggle at death's door. Qin Feiyang stopped him and said in a low voice. Dong Jinyang was surprised. He raised his head to look at Feng Wuxia, and his eyes suddenly burst out with rays of light. At the same time, whether it was the people of the Kong state or the people of the Yuzhou state, they all changed their expressions. They were the same as Dong Zhengyang. They thought that since Fu Shan had admitted defeat, the battle would be over. But now, Feng Wuxia had no intention of stopping at all. The ferocious bird was still rushing towards Fu Shan with an aggressive aura. Feng Wu shuddered and hurriedly shouted, "Feng Wuxia, stop." If Feng Wuxia really killed Fu Shan, the conflict between the two sides would be completely intensified. At that time, it would not be good for anyone. But Feng Wuxia did not seem to hear him. The killing intent in his eyes was even stronger than before. Similarly, Fu Shan did not expect this at all and was not mentally prepared at all. And the people of the Yuzhou state wanted to save Fu Shan at this moment, but it was too late. There was no luck at all. Accompanied by a painful scream, Fu Shan died tragically under the claws of the ferocious bird. And it was torn into pieces. It was a tragic sight. Dead? Feng Hu's face was blank. The others were also dumbfounded. The place fell into a dead silence. Dong Zhengyang was the only one who was extremely excited. Now that Fu Shan was dead, there would definitely be a bloody battle between the two sides. But at the same time, he was very puzzled and sent a voice transmission to Qin Feiyang. Why is Feng Wuxia so angry that he wants to kill Fu Shan regardless of the overall situation? Doesn't he know that this will cause a lot of trouble? Qin Feiyang laughed. Of course he knows this, but who asked Fu Shan to humiliate his fighting spirit? A dignified fire phoenix was called a chicken. This Fu Shan is really daring. I see. Chapter 587. That's right. That ferocious bird was the legendary divine beast, the fire phoenix that could be compared to the divine dragon. This battle soul was similar to the dragon soul and was extremely rare in the world. Qin Feiyang only knew one person. That was his mother, the current empress of the great Qin Empire. It was also because of the battle soul of the fire phoenix that his mother was able to successfully ascend to the position of empress. Because from ancient times until now, there was a legend that had been passed down. The emperor was the dragon and the empress was the phoenix. That was why Qin Feiyang was so shocked when he saw that Feng Wuxia's battle soul was the fire phoenix. Due to Fu Shan's death, the scene fell into dead silence. But this atmosphere did not last long. Boom! Suddenly, a terrifying aura surged, even stronger than Feng Wuxia and Fu Shan's aura. The source of this aura was the red-haired youth, Wan Qiu. Fu Shan has already admitted defeat. Why do you still want to kill him? At this moment, whether it was his expression or his gaze, it was incomparably cold. I'm happy to. Feng Wuxia smiled evilly. Is that so? Then I'm happy to kill you. Wan Qiu waved his hand and a bloody light shot out, sweeping towards Feng Wuxia like lightning. The bloody light was filled with a shocking murderous intent and baleful aura. Two-star combat ancestor. Feng Wuxia's pupils shrank, but then he grinned and said, I've long wanted to spar with a two-star combat ancestor and see how far away I am from a two-star combat ancestor, but before he could finish, the twin sisters scolded, spar your ass, back off. At the same time, the girl on the left took a step forward and stood in front of Feng Wuxia. Feng Wuxia said unhappily, Xuening, you don't have to care about my business. Humph. If I tell you to back off, then back off. Xuening snorted coldly. All right. Feng Wuxia shrugged helplessly and turned to Feng Hua. At the same time, the girl called Xuening also raised her slender arm and pointed her white index finger in the air. A dazzling battle chi emerged. The battle chi was like water, condensing into a water storm and blasted towards the bloody aura. Boom! When the two met, Wan Qiu and Xuening both took a step back. Xuening calmed down the surging blood and qi in her body and raised her head to look at Wan Qiu. Before they fought, they didn't say anything about not killing each other. Now that you're doing this, don't you think you're going overboard? I went overboard. Wan Qiu's gaze turned even colder. He did not waste his breath and took a step forward. His large hand shot out explosively, bringing along an ear-piercing palm wind. He slapped toward Xuanning. He's simply being unreasonable. Xuanning said angrily. She reached out with her jade-like hand and slapped out without backing down. Wan Qiu raised his eyebrows. Not only did she say that he was going overboard, she even said that he was being unreasonable. Did she really think that she could be so unreasonable just because she was a woman? Without a doubt. Wan Qiu was furious. Just as the two hands were about to clap together, Wan Qiu suddenly took a mysterious step and strangely disappeared in front of Xuanning. Xuanning was bewildered. At the same time, Qin Feiyang's pupils shrank, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. In the next moment, Wan Qiu appeared on the right side of Xuanning, as if he had appeared out of thin air, without any warning. Then, he stretched out his arm like lightning and slapped Xuanning's right cheek. Slap! An ear-piercing slap was heard, and Xuanning was also sent flying, crashing into the ground, and a deep pit appeared. And on her cheek, there was a bright red palm print. Feng Hua and the others were stunned, but then their faces changed color and they all ran towards the deep pit. Feng Hua jumped in and helped Xuanning up, and asked with concern, Xuanning, are you all right? I'm fine. Xuanning shook her head, touched her burning cheek, and walked out of the deep pit. She looked at Wan Qiu who was not far away, and her big eyes emitted a ray of shocking cold light. Seeing the palm print on Xuanning's face, Kong Province's people were furious. One of the 9-star combat emperors said angrily, You're a man, how dare you hit a woman, don't you feel ashamed? Men and women are segregated in this place, are you here to be funny? Moreover, senior brother Fu Shan had already admitted defeat, and your people still tried to kill him, and even tried to twist the truth, but senior brother Wan Qiu only gave her a slap, isn't that too much? I really didn't expect that Kong Province's people would be so despicable. The people from Yu Province immediately sneered. We're despicable. I don't think you're any better. A bunch of pigs and dogs, a nest of snakes and rats. The people from both sides did not want to be outdone, and began to curse at each other, spitting saliva everywhere, like a shrew cursing on the street. Dong Xingyang was stunned. What's going on? If you don't want to admit defeat, then fight, what's the use of cursing? Suddenly, he noticed Qin Feiyang's abnormality, and transmitted his voice, what's wrong? Qin Feiyang's gaze was still locked on Wan Qiu, and his eyes flashed with an inexplicable light. Dong Xingyang followed Qin Feiyang's gaze, and frowned, what's wrong with Wan Qiu? Very wrong. Qin Feiyang whispered, and said, he's not simple. What do you mean? Dong Xingyang became more and more suspicious. Qin Feiyang said, the movement technique he used before was a kind of battle art. I know that, is there a problem? Dong Xingyang nodded and asked suspiciously. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed, and said, of course there's a problem, because that movement technique is a perfect battle art. What? Dong Xingyang turned pale with fright. He did not expect it to be a perfect battle art. Dong Xingyang hurriedly asked, how do you know? Qin Feiyang said, because the phantom steps that I have mastered is a perfect battle art, so I can recognize it at a glance. Dong Xingyang suddenly felt a little suffocated. His heart also began to feel uneasy. Although everyone present had mastered a superior auxiliary battle art, one had to know that the difference between superior and perfect battle arts was very large. For example, Wan Qiu, with his perfect battle art, had the ability to suppress everyone present. The only one who had a perfect battle art, Qin Feiyang, was only an 8-star war emperor, and could not compete with Wan Qiu. In other words, at this moment, Wan Qiu was an invincible existence. The two sides were still arguing endlessly. The words they said were getting more and more unpleasant. Enough. What's the use of talking nonsense? If you're not convinced, then let's fight. Feng Wuxia suddenly shouted coldly, and his aura suddenly erupted, charging towards a one-star war sect of Yuzhou. Do you think I'm afraid of you? The one-star war sect of Yuzhou sneered, but did not charge forward. He turned his head to look at Wan Qiu, waiting for Wan Qiu to speak. Kill them all. In addition to Feng Hua, the other war sect of Kong State followed behind Feng Wuxia and charged towards the people of Yuzhou. Wan Qiu glanced at Feng Wuxia and the others, his eyes flashing coldly, and said, "Eight-star war emperor, take the people of Lingzhou and retreat." Senior brother Wan Qiu, Qin Feiyang is dead, is there a need to keep them alive? An eight-star war emperor immediately asked. Qin Feiyang is not dead. Wan Qiu said. Not dead. Didn't Feng Wuxia say that he had killed Qin Feiyang? The people of Yuzhou were surprised. If he really killed Qin Feiyang, would he still try to snatch Ren Wuxuang and the others? If I'm not wrong, they are snatching these people to threaten Qin Feiyang. Wan Qiu sneered. I see. Let's go. Everyone was enlightened. There were a total of 28 Star War Emperors on Yozhou's side. At this moment, they were escorting Ren Wuxuang and the others, quickly fleeing into the distance. Because they all knew that Wan Qiu was ready to start a massacre. Has it finally begun? Qin Feiyang murmured. Dong Xingyang's eyes were also filled with coldness. On the mountain ridge, Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong were also filled with anticipation. After the 28 Star War Emperors and Ren Wuxuang left, there was not much difference in the number of people between Kong State and Yuzhou. Kong State had 6 one-star combat ancestors, 10 9-star war emperors and the twin sisters. Yuzhou had 5 one-star combat ancestors, 1 9-star war emperor and Wan Qiu. But because of Fu Shan's death, there were only 4 one-star combat ancestors left in Yuzhou. According to the current situation, Kong State still had a great advantage. Let's do it. Wan Qiu waved his hand. His tone was casual, but his eyes were as sharp as a blade, intimidating people. Boom! At this moment, the 4 one-star combat ancestors and 10 9-star war emperors released a terrifying aura at the same time and rushed towards the people of Kong State with murderous intent. But Wan Qiu didn't move. Feng Hua and the twin sisters didn't move either. Their mission was to restrain Wan Qiu. Because as long as Wan Qiu didn't join the battle, the final winner would be Kong State. After all, Kong State had one more one-star combat ancestor. Boom! Gotcha! In a flash. Yozhou's 4 one-star combat ancestors and Kong State's Feng Wuxia's group of 5 began to fight. The 10 9-star war emperors on both sides avoided the combat ancestor kings and went to a distance to fight. Both sides were unscrupulous and wanted to kill their opponents as quickly as possible and end the battle. Moreover, they were all the best in their respective states, so the battle reached its climax from the beginning. The flames of war burned the land within a 10-mile radius. Battle chi filled the air and battle arts whistled. Mountains collapsed one after another and the earth cracked crazily. The rumbling was deafening. What is Wan Qiu doing? Dong Xingyang was suspicious. The 4 one-star combat ancestors of Yuzhou were obviously at a disadvantage against the 5 one-star combat ancestors of Kong State. Moreover, Feng Wuxia was also ridiculously strong. The fire phoenix hovered in the sky, emitting a monstrous divine aura. His opponent was a burly man with bulging muscles. He was filled with explosive power and looked very valiant. But under Feng Wuxia's hands, this person seemed to be restrained. There were even a few bone-deep wounds on his body. The situation on the other side was even worse. 2 one-star combat ancestors of Kong State joined forces to deal with 1 one-star combat ancestor of Yuzhou. The situation was completely one-sided. Moreover, Under the relentless pursuit of the two from Kong State, the person from Yuzhou had already lost an arm. But even so, Wan Qiu didn't help and coldly scanned the battlefield. At the same time, Feng Hua also stared at Wan Qiu, his brows furrowed. This person was like a mystery, he was really unfathomable. What was he thinking? Rumble. Gotcha. As time passed, the place was already beyond recognition. It was a scene of devastation. The 10 9-star war emperors of both sides were in the same situation and their injuries were similar. They were evenly matched. However, the 4 1-star war sectas of Yuzhou were in imminent danger. Chapter 588. Qin Feiyang's attention was also on Wan Qiu. He wanted to see what kind of amazing means the strongest person in Yuzhou had. Swoosh! Suddenly, Wan Qiu retracted his gaze. When they saw this, Qin Feiyang, Dong Zhengyang, and Feng Hua's group of 3 couldn't help but become tense. Next, Wan Qiu looked at Fire Beacon's 3 people and said coldly, "I'm going to attack." He did not say much but was extremely arrogant. As everyone knew. Usually, before facing an enemy, one would think of ways to numb the opponent and catch them off guard with unexpected speed. But now, Wan Qiu did the exact opposite, and openly said it out loud. This was a blatant disdain towards the 3 Fire Beacon experts. Qin Feiyang pursed his lips into a bitter smile. Compared to this person, his previous arrogance was nothing more than child's play. Without a doubt. The twin sisters were angry, their faces full of frost. But Fire Beacon was relatively calmer. However, his gaze was firmly fixed on Wan Qiu and he did not dare to move at all, for fear that Wan Qiu would suddenly disappear from his sight. Whoosh! Suddenly, Wan Qiu moved and walked towards the man who was surrounded. Obviously, he first had to help the man out of his predicament. And his speed was not fast, but each step was steady and powerful. Fire Beacon and the twin sisters looked at each other and rushed out at the same time, blocking in front of Wan Qiu. Wan Qiu glanced at the 3 people, his gaze extremely cold. He did not have the slightest intention of stopping and faced the 3 people like this. I've never been afraid of arrogant people. Wan, you're very strong, but we sisters are stronger. The twin sisters' lips curled up slightly, with a touch of disdain. Boom! Following closely. Their auras erupted like volcanoes. Then, they raised their slender jade arms and slapped towards Wan Qiu from left and right. These 2 sisters are 2-star battle grandmasters. Qin Feiyang looked stunned. Very strong. If it's a head-on battle, the spiritual state has no chance of winning. Dong Zhengyang whispered. Qin Feiyang nodded. 2 2-star battle grandmasters, 6 1-star battle grandmasters, and 10 9-star battle emperors. Such a lineup was several times more powerful than the spiritual states. A timid person would be scared to death, not to mention a head-on confrontation. However, Kong Prefecture's current opponent was Yuzhou. Although the overall strength of Yu Prefecture was slightly weaker than Kong Prefecture, they had Wan Qiu as their trump card. It was hard to say who would win. In the blink of an eye, the twin sisters had already arrived in front of Wan Qiu. Their palms were like thunder, shaking the surroundings. However, Wan Qiu did not confront them directly. Whoosh! He took a step forward and calmly passed between the 2 sisters, continuing to walk towards the burly man. Throughout the entire process, there was no pause at all. How is this possible? The twins froze in place, unable to accept the fact that their palm had missed. At the same time, Feng Hua's pupils also contracted, his face full of shock. Facing the interception of 2 2-star battle grandmasters, he could still escape so easily. Was this a dream? How could he be so fast? Wasn't he just a 2-star battle grandmaster? Stop! The twin sisters came back to their senses and immediately turned around to shout at Wan Qiu. However, Wan Qiu did not even look back at them, appearing incomparably cold. "Bastard! I told you to stop, didn't you hear me?" The twin sisters were furious. Two dazzling battle auras appeared and turned into a torrent, carrying a destructive aura as they rushed towards Wan Qiu. However, Wan Qiu still did not look back, as if he did not notice them. However, just before the two battle auras were about to drown him, he took another step forward and mysteriously disappeared from the range of the battle auras. Boom! The battle auras bombarded the ground, instantly creating a deafening sound. A huge sinkhole instantly appeared in front of everyone's eyes. At this moment, Wan Qiu was standing at the edge of the sinkhole. His long red hair and white clothes fluttered in the wind, but he was completely unharmed. How could he dodge that? Seeing Wan Qiu, the twin sisters' eyes immediately widened. Feng Hua's eyes also widened in anger, and his heart was extremely shocked. What was going on? His speed was clearly not fast, but why did Wan Qiu's speed become so astonishing at every critical moment? This time, Wan Qiu turned his head and glanced at the three of them, but there was a hint of mockery in his cold eyes. Then, he turned back and continued to walk towards the burly man. Dong Xingyang said, "It seems that they haven't realized that Wan Qiu has mastered a perfect auxiliary battle art. A perfect battle art is too rare. It's not an exaggeration to say that it's a legend in the 18 counties of the 9 states. Even if they realize it, I'm afraid that they will directly reject it in their hearts." Qin Feiyang said. "Then how did you get your perfect battle art?" Dong Xingyang asked, his eyes full of expectation. Qin Feiyang smiled but did not say anything. Dong Xingyang pursed his lips and did not ask for a rebuff. He turned his head and continued to pay attention to Wan Qiu. During the conversation, Wan Qiu and the burly man were only 100 meters away. The two one-star battle masters besieging the burly man in Kong province also noticed Wan Qiu and immediately felt uneasy in their hearts. The burly man, however, was wild with joy. He was already seriously injured and his consciousness was about to dissipate, but when he saw Wan Qiu approaching, he instantly became lively. His methods were also extremely crazy. It was as if he didn't care about his life at all as he forcefully restrained the two one-star battle ancestors. Seeing this, Feng Hua's expression changed greatly, and he shouted, "Quickly go and help." Whoosh! Before he could finish, Feng Hua and a pair of twin sisters had already activated their superior auxiliary battle arts. Accompanied by the sound of breaking through the air, they shot towards Wan Qiu. Feeling the aura behind him that was quickly approaching, Wan Qiu's gaze became colder and colder. "If I want to kill someone, who can stop me?" Suddenly, he raised his head to the sky and roared. His speed suddenly increased greatly, so fast that no one could catch his trace. So fast. He's actually faster than us by a lot. Could he be a 3-star battle master? Feng Hua and the other two were overwhelmed with shock. At the same time, the expressions of the two one-star battle masters who were besieging the burly man also changed. With this kind of speed, coupled with Wan Qiu's cultivation, wouldn't it be easy to kill them? The two of them immediately had the thought of escaping. However, the burly man had already expected this result and did not give them the slightest chance to escape. Even if the two one-star battle masters bombarded his heart, he did not retreat a single step. In less than 3 breaths, Wan Qiu entered the burly man's battlefield. It's too late. Feng Hua was burning with anxiety as he shouted at the two of them, "Run." As for the two one-star battle masters, they were even more anxious than Feng Hua. They were so anxious that they almost peed their pants. They also wanted to escape. But this burly man suddenly seemed to have been injected with chicken blood. Even if he had to risk his life to stop them, he was simply unable to escape. Let's end this. Just as Wuxia entered the battlefield, the burly man smiled sinisterly at the two one-star battle masters and quickly retreated to the side. At the same time, Wuxia also made his move. He took a step forward and landed behind the two one-star battle masters like lightning. Then, he extended his hands and bent his fingers like an eagle's claw, grabbing towards the two's heads. The two of them reacted in time, but their speed was completely unable to keep up with Wuxia. Just as they took a step forward, Wuxia grabbed their heads. Following that, his 5 fingers contracted and his battle chi surged. Crack! The heads of the two one-star battle masters instantly exploded like watermelons, blood splattering everywhere. The two of them died on the spot. Seeing this scene, not to mention the Kong province's Feng Hua and the others, even Qin Feiyang's heart trembled. One had to know. Those two were both one-star battle masters and the kings of a province. In Qin Feiyang's opinion, even if the two of them couldn't defeat Wuxia, they wouldn't be easily killed. But never had he imagined that in just an instant, Wuxia would take the lives of 2 people. This kind of strength was truly terrifying. He was even stronger than Cloud Province's Commander Nye. This person definitely had the qualifications to dominate those of the same realm. He probably even had the strength to fight against a 3-star battle master. My serene province only has 4 one-star battle masters. Now, your Kong province only has 4 one-star battle masters left. It's fair. At this time, Wuxia's voice rang out. Wuxia looked at Feng Hua and the twin sisters, his eyes as cold as ever. Feng Hua and the other 2 were also filled with anger and indignation. But Wuxia directly ignored them. He took out a blood-red pill and threw it to the burly man, saying, "Take the heart-protecting pill and continue to fight. In the end, I want to see you win." "Yes." The burly man received the pill, respectfully replied, and threw the pill into his mouth. Previously, when he was restraining the 2 one-star battle masters, his heart was already injured. If he didn't have the heart-protecting pill to repair it, let alone fighting, his life would probably be in danger. Following that, Wuxia retreated to the side with his hands behind his back. Like an invincible king, he swept his gaze across the battlefield and had no intention of attacking again. Seeing this, the furious Feng Hua and the other 2 secretly heaved a sigh of relief. If Wuxia continued to join the battle, the Kong province would probably be completely annihilated in the end. But the current situation didn't seem to be any better. Xuening sent a sound transmission, "Feng Hua will restrain Wuxia. You go deal with that burly man. Tell everyone to retreat if there's a chance, don't continue to fight." "Understood." Feng Hua secretly replied, then raised his head to look at the burly man and smiled, "Please enlighten me. If you want to kill me, just say it. Why are you so hypocritical?" The burly man sneered. "Hee." Feng Hua smiled faintly, then immediately turned into a stream of light and rushed towards the burly man. At the same time, Wuxia killed the 2 kings of the Kong province with a wave of his hand, which also inspired everyone in the Yu province. At this moment, they were all in high spirits and full of fighting spirit. For a time, the situation began to reverse. The Kong province, which originally had the absolute advantage, was now slowly falling into a disadvantage. "What a terrifying enemy!" Qin Feiyang muttered. With the power of one person, he reversed the situation. This Wuxia would probably be his most difficult opponent in the 9 Nether Yellow Springs. Of course, it couldn't be ruled out that there were stronger existences than Wuxia in the other provinces. At this moment, he really felt the pressure. If he didn't work hard, in the end, he might become one of the losers. Or even lose his life. However, he wouldn't back down. On the contrary, only with pressure would there be motivation. He was now very much looking forward to the future development. Chapter 589. Action. Dong Jingyang was stunned and frowned. Are you sure now? The battle between Yu province and Kong province had just begun. Wouldn't it be asking for a beating if they jumped out now? Because it was expected that as soon as they appeared, the people from the two provinces would definitely stop fighting and join forces to suppress them. Just the people from one province was enough to give him a headache, let alone the people from two provinces. You misunderstood me. I'm not going to get involved in their battle. I'm going to save people. Qin Feiyang said. Save people? Dong Jingyang was stunned. That's right. Qin Feiyang nodded. The 9-star combat emperors and combat masters from Yu province were now pinned down by the people from Kong province. Only the 8-star combat emperors were guarding. Although there were 28-star combat emperors, they were no threat to Qin Feiyang. Moreover, they had 3 1-star combat masters on their side. Dong Jingyang, Shenlong, and Jiang Wei. With their strength, it was more than enough to deal with a group of 8-star combat emperors. Understanding Qin Feiyang's meaning, Dong Jingyang naturally had no objections. The two quietly retreated, bypassing Wan Qiu and the others, and came to the rear of the battlefield to look for footprints. The biggest advantage of the 9 Nether Underworld was that no matter how fast the opponent ran, they would leave footprints on the ground. Even if there were no footprints, there would still be traces. Soon, Qin Feiyang found a large number of footprints. Following the footprints, after a while, the two found a small canyon hundreds of meters away. The entrance of the canyon was guarded by 2 men in white. There was a word, Yu, embroidered on their chests. They were the people from Yu province. Dong Jingyang's eyes flashed coldly and said in a low voice, You wait here, I'll kill them all. Don't. Qin Feiyang hurriedly stopped him and shook his head. This place is not far from Wan Qiu. If they call for help, Wan Qiu will definitely hear them. So we must kill them unexpectedly and not give them a chance to speak. That makes sense. Dong Jingyang nodded, but his eyes suddenly trembled as he asked in surprise, You still plan to deal with the people of Yu province? He had thought that Qin Feiyang would give up on making trouble for Yu Zhou after witnessing the power of Wan Qiu. But now, listening to Qin Feiyang's words, it seemed that he had not given up. Because if he gave up, Qin Feiyang wouldn't have so many concerns. He could just leave after saving the people, and Wan Qiu might not be able to catch up with him. How can we not make them pay a price? Qin Feiyang sneered. Ugh. Dong Jingyang was stunned. He was right. What did a certain type of person say? Qin Feiyang was precisely this kind of person, knowing that there was a tiger in the mountain, but still heading towards the tiger's mountain. How audacious. Alas. He sighed inwardly and said in a low voice, then quickly arrange it. Qin Feiyang said, You wait here. When you hear something in the valley, you immediately take action. Dong Jingyang nodded. Qin Feiyang looked at the valley. Except for the entrance, the other 3 sides were mountains, which could be hundreds of feet high. Ancient trees were lush and weeds were overgrown. Qin Feiyang went to the foot of the mountain on the left side. Like an agile monkey, he quickly climbed to the top of the mountain, stood behind a bush, and looked down. The situation in the valley immediately entered his sight. The valley was very small, about 300 or 400 meters wide. There were a lot of stones piled up inside. Some green weeds grew between the gaps of the stones, swaying with the breeze from the entrance. Ren Wuxuang and the others were in the center of the valley at this moment. They sat back to back. Some angrily glanced at the people of Yu Zhou, some were silent in despair, and some were whispering to each other. As for the 28-star combat emperors of Yu Zhou, except for the 2 guarding the entrance, the rest were gathered around Ren Wuxuang and the others. Do you think senior brother Wan Qiu and the others can defeat them? I'm also thinking about this problem. Although Kong province doesn't have as many people as Yu Zhou, their overall strength is stronger than ours. Yes, especially the twin sisters. I feel that their chi is similar to that of senior brother Wanqiu. They are probably 2-star combat masters. 3 young men said, their faces full of worry. You are worrying for nothing, do you know that? So what if they are 2-star combat masters? Don't forget that our senior brother Wanqiu has mastered a perfect auxiliary combat art. No matter how strong they can only be abused. That's right. Not to mention Kong province, even if there are people from several other provinces, senior brother Wanqiu can easily deal with them. Immediately, some people disdainfully discussed. Qin Feiyang saw all of this and couldn't help but feel sorry for these people. Because they relied too much on Wanqiu. If Wanqiu left or unfortunately died in battle, the others from Yuzhou wouldn't be able to make any waves. However, killing Wanqiu wasn't an easy task. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and Shenlong, Jiang Wei, and Wolf King appeared out of thin air. Qin Feiyang pointed at the canyon below and said, Shen Mei is down there. Shenlong looked down and saw Shen Mei covered in blood and looked extremely miserable. Killing intent suddenly burst out of his eyes. Qin Feiyang looked at Wolf King and said, You hide down there and wait for my orders. No problem. Wolf King smiled and his palm-sized body swept into the grass. Soon, he entered the canyon and hid in a crack not far from Ren Wuxuang and the others. About 100 breaths later, Qin Feiyang retracted his gaze and looked at Jiang Wei and Shenlong, saying, Be sure to kill them in one blow. We heard the conversation between you and Dong Xingyang from inside, Qin Lai said. Don't worry, but a group of 8-star combat emperors won't give them a chance to speak. The two spoke one after another in an extremely cold tone. Qin Feiyang nodded and waved his hand, shouting, Do it. Whoosh! Shenlong and Jiang Wei immediately took a step forward and shot down. The two didn't deliberately hide, so before they landed in the canyon, the people from Yuzhou and Ren Wuxuang had already discovered them. But the difference was, Ren Wuxuang and the others were overjoyed. Some were even crying tears of joy. However, when the people from Yuzhou saw the word Ling on Shenlong and Jiang Wei's chests, they were immediately shocked. Why are the people from Ling State here? Their auras are very strong, they must be combat masters. Quickly call for help from senior brother Wanqiu. The group of people instantly panicked. But there were a few people who were calmer and immediately called for help. However, the Wolf King, who was hiding in the crevice, didn't give them a chance to call for help. Just as Shenlong and Jiang Wei were discovered, it used the void escape step and rushed out, its 2 small claws grabbing 2 white ribs. The void escape step was a perfect battle art. Now, its cultivation was also a 9-star combat emperor, and it was half a step into the combat master realm. One could imagine how amazing its speed was. In half a blink of an eye, it swept in front of the 2 8-star combat emperors and raised its ribs to knock their heads. Crack! The ribs could even tear the defense of a combat master, let alone an 8-star combat emperor. There was no suspense. Accompanied by an ear-piercing sound, the heads of the 2 exploded on the spot, blood splattering everywhere. After killing the 2, it immediately attacked the people next to them. At this moment, Shenlong and Jiang Wei also arrived at the same time, attacking mercilessly like 2 death gods, crazily harvesting lives. At the same time, the 2 people guarding the entrance immediately turned and ran inside when they heard the commotion inside. Wait! But suddenly, in the forest ahead, a cold voice sounded. Who is it? The 2 of them were shocked. Then, they saw a white figure rushing out of the forest and heading straight for them. And it was very fast. With their eyesight, they couldn't capture the person's true appearance. In the blink of an eye, the white figure was only a dozen meters away from them. This time, they finally saw the person's face clearly, and also saw the word on his chest. It was the word Ling. It was actually someone from the spiritual state. The two of them were instantly shocked and were about to call for help. But that person didn't give them a chance. His hands stretched out like eagle claws, grabbing their necks and twisting hard. Crack! Their necks were broken on the spot. Bang! Then the two of them fell to the ground, dead. That's right. This person was Dong Jingyang. After killing the two of them, Dong Jingyang didn't stay for a moment and directly rushed into the canyon. The battle in the canyon had also ended. The 18 8-star combat emperors were all lying in a pool of blood. Most of them had their heads blown open. The bloody scene made one's hair stand on end. Without a doubt, this was definitely Wolf King's masterpiece. What a ferocious fellow! Dong Jingyang muttered in his heart. He ran to Ren Wuxuang and the others, glanced at everyone, and asked with concern, "Are you all okay?" No. Everyone shook their heads. Shen Mei lowered her head and blamed herself, "I'm sorry for causing trouble for you." Hearing this, the others also lowered their heads, their faces full of apologies. Including Wu Yan and Su Yang. However, there was one person who was calm, and that was Lu Xingqian. Shenlong said, "The people from Yuzhou are too strong. There's nothing we can do about it. You don't have to blame yourselves." Shen Mei looked at Shenlong in surprise. Shenlong also smiled at her. Shen Mei was completely dumbfounded. What was going on? This cousin who usually didn't want to look at her was actually smiling at her at this moment. Ren Wuxuang, who was next to her, also looked at Shenlong strangely. Obviously, she knew about the matter between Shen Mei and Shenlong. Looking at the two women's reaction, Shenlong secretly sighed, walked to Shen Mei, and said with a smile, "Little sister, I was wrong in the past. Brother apologizes to you. I will definitely protect you in the future." This, Shen Mei couldn't react for a moment. What was going on? Shenlong's attitude changed too much, right? Let's go to the side and talk. Shenlong smiled bitterly. If he didn't explain clearly, he was afraid that this cousin would suspect that he had ulterior motives. Shen Mei looked at Ren Wuxuang for help. Go. Ren Wuxuang patted her shoulder. Although she didn't know the reason, Shenlong's change was a good thing for Shen Mei. The brother and sister went to the side and whispered. Ren Wuxuang glanced at Dong Jingyang and Jiang Wei, then turned to Wolf King and asked, "Where's Qin Feiyang? It's us who saved you. Why don't you ask us first? Tell me the truth. Do you have any ulterior motives for little Qin Zi? Don't blame me for not telling you. Little Qin Zi already has a family. It's impossible for him to like other women. Of course, if you insist on getting close to him, I'll support you. After all, we should keep the goodies within the family." The Wolf King chuckled. Family. Chapter 590. Dong Jingyang and the others were also shocked. Qin Feiyang had a wife. Why hadn't they heard of it? Looking at Ren Wuxuang's reaction, Wolf King had a strange look in his eyes and said with a wicked smile, "Don't tell me that you really like little Qin Zi. What are you talking about?" Ren Wuxuang blushed and scolded, "Do you want a beating?" It seems that little Qin Zi has a lot of luck with women." Wolf King laughed sinisterly. "Believe it or not, I'll seal your mouth if you keep talking nonsense." At this time, Qin Feiyang rushed down from the top of the mountain and landed in front of everyone, looking at Wolf King angrily. For a moment, everyone's eyes were focused on him. "Humph. You don't know how to appreciate my kindness." Wolf King muttered discontentedly. "Can't you see that I'm trying to set them up? Such a beautiful girl is right in front of you, but you don't take action. What a blockhead." Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at him, looked at Ren Wuxuang and the others, and said with a smile, "Don't listen to his nonsense. How are you? Are you hurt?" Everyone looked at each other and couldn't help but smile bitterly. It turned out that the so-called wife was just a joke. They almost believed it. It's just some superficial wounds. It doesn't matter. Ren Wuxiang shook his head and asked, "When did you come?" Qin Feiyang said, "We arrived early in the morning, but we didn't find the time to rescue you. You've been tired." Lu Xingchen sighed and said, "Brother Qin, you're the one who's tired. We're just a bunch of burdens." The others also lowered their heads, looking ashamed. They all thought that they were doomed this time. They even thought that even if Qin Feiyang came, he would probably leave them alone when he saw the strength of Yuzhou. But it turned out not to be like that. Not only did Qin Feiyang not care about the past, but he also tried to save them. It would be a lie to say that they were not grateful. But the more grateful they were, the more guilty they felt. I shouldn't have targeted Qin Feiyang like that in the past. Compared to Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong, Qin Feiyang was sincerely helping them. All right. Can you all stop being so pretentious? Hurry up and arrange how to kill the people from Yuzhou province and Kong province. The Wolf King waved its claws impatiently. Yes. Now is not the time to be pretentious. We have to avenge those who have died. Everyone's eyes were filled with hatred. Dong Xingyang said, "Revenge is a must, but your strength is far from enough." Everyone fell silent again. To be honest, the strength of the remaining people was pretty good. Most of them were 6-star combat emperors and above. But compared to Yuzhou and Kong province, the gap was too big. Dong Xingyang pondered for a moment, then turned to look at Qin Feiyang and said, "As long as they are well arranged, we can fight with all our might. Can you let everyone hide in the castle first?" Heard about it. Everyone's eyes suddenly lit up. Although they knew nothing about the castle, Qin Feiyang could rely on the castle to run rampant, which was enough to show that the castle was a very safe place. But Qin Feiyang was still hesitating. Wolf King said, "No, the castle is too small to hold so many people." Dong Xingyang said, "I have been to the castle. It is about 10 feet. 20 or 30 people can squeeze in." "You talk too much." Wolf King looked at him unkindly. Dong Xingyang sighed, "If there was another way now, I would never put forward this suggestion. Brother Qin, please consider it seriously." Qin Feiyang looked at everyone, his eyes flickering. "Little Qin Zi, if these people are worth protecting, I will definitely not object. But look at how they treated you before. No matter what, I will not agree. If you don't listen to me, we will break off our friendship." Wolf King glanced at Wu Yan and the others, his eyes full of disdain. As soon as he finished speaking, Wu Yan and the others all lowered their heads, not daring to look directly at Wolf King. Although these words were unpleasant, they were also the truth. If it were them today, they would not let anyone enter the castle. But now they had no choice. Only by entering the castle would they be safe. Otherwise, they would die in the 9 nether hells sooner or later. Looking at Wolf King's determined attitude, Dong Xingyang could not help but frown. For a moment, he was at his wit's end. Alas! He sighed inwardly and transmitted a message to Wu Yan and the others, "I can't do anything now. Whether or not we can enter the castle depends on your performance." Everyone was silent for a while. Suddenly, everyone bowed down in unison and lowered their proud heads. "Senior Brother Qin, we really know we were wrong. Please be merciful and help us. Only you can help us now. Senior Brother Qin, Su Yang, swear that whether it is now in the 9 nether hell or when we return to the spiritual state, I will never go against you again. Well, as long as we can leave here, you will be my great benefactor in the future. I will definitely repay you well. Please rest assured that we will not act recklessly after we enter the castle. If you find someone with evil intentions, you don't have to do anything. I, Wu Yan, will be the first to kill him." Everyone begged one after another. Especially Wu Yan and Su Yang, the two of them knew that they had a deep grudge with Qin Feiyang, so they were particularly uneasy. Now you know how to beg? What have you been doing before? Wolf King said disdainfully. Ruffian wolf, can't you be more magnanimous? Ren Wuxuang looked at him with dissatisfaction. Am I not magnanimous enough? If it weren't for you, I would have killed them all. Would they still have the chance to stand here and talk? Wolf King snorted coldly. Ren Wuxuang raised his hands helplessly and nodded, yes, yes, you are magnanimous. I am narrow-minded. Is this okay? Wolf King said, don't flatter me. It's useless. In short, I don't agree to let them go to the castle. At this time, Qin Feiyang, who had been silent, shook his head and said, I don't agree either. Not to mention the importance of the castle, just Lin Yi and the others, he was worried about letting Wu Yan and the others in. As soon as this remark came out, the people present suddenly showed despair. Suddenly, Dong Xingyang looked at Qin Feiyang and said, do you remember our bet last time? Qin Feiyang frowned. Dong Xingyang said, I am now using this bet in exchange for their opportunity to enter the castle. I don't think this request is too much, right? It doesn't violate your principles, right? It's not too much. Qin Feiyang shook his head and then said, but are you sure you want to do this? I'm sure. Dong Xingyang nodded. Qin Feiyang said, okay, I will let them in, but you'd better restrain them. Otherwise, it won't be as simple as driving them out. Dong Xingyang snorted coldly, I believe they don't have the guts now. It's better this way. I will go in and arrange it first. Qin Feiyang glanced at Dong Xingyang meaningfully, then took Wolf King into the castle. Wolf King immediately said with dissatisfaction, little Qin Zi, why did you bet with him at that time? Aren't you looking for trouble for yourself? How would I know that Dongfang Wuhan is so spineless? Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. Fatso looked at the man and wolf, rubbed his chin, pondered for a while, and said, actually, Fat Lord thinks that it is a good thing to let them come to the castle. Wolf King said angrily, this is a good thing. Was your head kicked by a donkey? You're the one who was kicked by a donkey. Fatso glared at Wolf King fiercely. Think about it. The old man has great expectations for us in this 9 prefectures great war. And you know the old master's character and temper. He has always been on the side of reason and not family. Fairness and justice are his principles. If we ignore them now, when we return to the spiritual state, the old master will definitely be dissatisfied. At that time, it might be difficult for Boss to enter the imperial capital. Let's put aside the old master and focus on Ren Wuxuang. As the granddaughter of the mansion master, it is obviously impossible for her to ignore the life and death of others. But at the same time, with her relationship with us, she can't force us to do anything. So she is now caught in the middle and is in a difficult position. You have to understand her, right? Fatso said. These words were so reasonable that the Wolf King was rendered speechless. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, I didn't expect you to see it so clearly. Fatso immediately became proud and said, of course, Fat Lord's brain is no worse than yours. He just doesn't like to use his brain usually. Qin Feiyang's face twitched. Can't you be more reserved? Fatso chuckled and pointed to the altar, saying, where are you going to put those things? On the altar were the 6-word divine formula, pill scripture, 4 Qiankuan bags, and a jade box. Inside the jade box was the fire of life. The 4 Qiankuan bags contained the potential pill, 9 Chu yellow dragon pill, and crimson fire glass pill. Because there were too many of them, the jade box could no longer hold them, so they were all stored in the Qiankuan bag. The 6-word divine formula could not be moved, and was locked in the iron box, so there was no need to worry. But the other things had to be found a safe place to put them. And keeping them in the Qianquan bag was undoubtedly the safest, but there was also a big hidden danger. If the Qianquan bag was shattered in the process of battle, then all the things would also turn into nothingness. To Qin Feiyang, this was something that absolutely could not be allowed to happen. After all, any one of these pills could cause a bloodbath if taken out. Suddenly, he locked his gaze on the iron box containing the 6-word divine formula. This iron box could only be opened with his blood. In terms of safety, other than the ancient castle, it was definitely the iron box. With that thought, he no longer hesitated and took out an empty Qianquan bag, putting the jade box, pill scripture, and all the pills on the altar into it. Then, he bit his fingertip, opened the iron box with his blood, put the Qianquan bag inside, and closed the iron box. Looking at the iron box, Qin Feiyang's face revealed a faint smile. This time, he could finally rest assured. Then, Qin Feiyang turned his head to look at Fatso, and warned, when they come in, you must keep an eye on them, especially Lu Xingqian and Xiang Xiaolong. I always feel that the two of them are not ordinary. And Fatso nodded. Swish. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and appeared outside with Wolf King. Without any superfluous words, he directly sent Wu Yan and the others to the ancient castle. Here, only Jiang Wei, Ren Wushuang, Dong Xingyang, Shen Long, and Shen Mei were left. Shen Mei walked in front of Qin Feiyang and said, "Thank you for letting us bury the hatchet, and also thank you for giving my brother the pills." Qin Feiyang smiled, took out a 9-chew yellow dragon pill and handed it to Shen Mei. So the extra pill was prepared for her. Wolf King muttered. At the same time, Dong Xingyang and the others' eyes shone brightly. But Shen Mei looked suspicious and puzzled. What kind of pill is this? Shen Long hurriedly said, "Little sister, it's the kind of pill I told you about just now." What? Shen Mei's eyes trembled, and she quickly waved her hand. "It's too precious, I can't accept it." Ren Wushuang smiled, "Just accept it, don't be polite with him. Anyway, he has a lot. Besides, it's also my credit that he can have these pills." A lot? Dong Xingyang and the others felt that they were about to suffocate. It was not an exaggeration to say that this kind of pill was a peerless treasure. They always thought that Qin Feiyang did not have many, but they did not expect Ren Wushuang to say that he had a lot. He really wouldn't stop until he was shocked to death. But they did not understand Ren Wushuang's last sentence. How could it be Ren Wushuang's credit? Wolf King impatiently urged, "Can you hurry up? If you delay any longer, the people of Kong State might all run away." Shen Mei finally came back to her senses, trembling as she reached out and took the 9-chew yellow dragon pill, and said gratefully, "Thank you." "No problem." Qin Feiyang waved his hand and smiled. Shen Mei was now a 6-star war emperor, and a 9-chew yellow dragon pill with 4 patterns was enough for Shen Mei to break through to the War Master realm. In this way, the strength of the spirit state would undoubtedly soar by a large margin. Then, Qin Feiyang did not waste any more words, and sent Ren Wushuang and Shen Mei to the ancient castle. He turned to look in the direction of Wan Qiu and the others, and said coldly, "Let's go, it's time to settle the score with them." Whoosh! Immediately, 4 people and 1 wolf turned and quickly left the canyon, plunging into the forest and disappearing. Chapter 591. When Qin Feiyang and the others arrived at the battlefield, the battle between Yu Province and Kong Province had not yet ended. How do we deal with them? Wolf King's eyes flashed with a fierce light. Let's observe the situation first. Qin Feiyang scanned the front. There was a small hill dozens of meters away, covered with shrubs. Let's go. Qin Feiyang called out and walked towards the hill. When they arrived at the foot of the hill, the 4 people and 1 wolf did not stop. They climbed up the hill and stood in the bushes, overlooking the battlefield. Wan Qiu still did not make a move. He stood there with his hands behind his back, like a king looking down on the battlefield. Not far away, the twin sisters stood side by side. They looked calm, but there was a trace of vigilance in their eyes. Around the three of them, the one-star battle sects of Yu Province and Kong Province were fighting fiercely. Further away, the 29-star combat emperors of the two provinces were also fighting fiercely. Deafening rumbles were incessant. Everyone was covered in blood, as if they were bathed in a rain of blood. A tragic aura enveloped the world. Didn't you say that the people of Kong Province were already thinking of retreating? Why do they look like they're ready to fight to the end? Jiang Wei retracted his gaze and looked at Qin Feiyang and Dong Xingyang suspiciously. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, "With Wan Qiu here, it's not that easy to retreat. Wan Qiu was too fast. Even if they wanted to retreat, they had to find the best opportunity. Otherwise, not only would they not be able to escape safely, but they would also accelerate the destruction of Kong Province. Because once they started to retreat, their fighting spirit would be greatly reduced. On the contrary, the fighting spirit of Yu Province would be greatly increased. At that time, under the leadership of Wan Qiu, they would chase after them and the Kong Province would face the risk of being completely wiped out. Therefore, the Kong Province did not dare to retreat easily. Then what should we do now? Shenlong asked. What should we do? Of course we'll sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. The fiercer they fight, the more serious their injuries will be. It's more advantageous for us. Wolf King smiled sinisterly. Jiang Wei said, what if they fight and the other side compromises? Dong Xingyang's pupils contracted as he said in a deep voice, we really can't rule out this possibility. They might even form an alliance. Immediately, Shenlong and Jiang Wei's hearts became heavy. If one side was already so strong, who would be able to stop them if the two sides formed an alliance? Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment and nodded. Your concerns are not without reason. We do need to take precautions. Dong Xingyang asked, do you have any ideas? Shenlong and the other two also looked expectantly at Qin Feiyang. In terms of brains, everyone here admitted that they were no match for Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang glanced at the three of them and smiled bitterly. Don't have too much hope for me. I really don't have any ideas right now. The three of them looked at each other. As you all know, benefits outweigh everything else. In the face of great benefits, no matter how deep the hatred is, it can be temporarily put down, just like me and Dong Xingyang. Qin Feiyang said. The three of them nodded. What Qin Feiyang was talking about was the phenomenon of this era. There were no eternal enemies, only eternal benefits. In a cruel place like the 9 Nether Yellow Springs, even if the blood between the two sides was as deep as the sea, it was still possible to become friends in the next moment. Therefore, in the face of the current situation, all plans were in vain. Wolf King glanced at the four of them and shouted impatiently, do you need to worry about this and that? If you want me to say, just go ahead. Qin Feiyang nodded and said, White-Eyed Wolf is right. If you can win, then go ahead. If you can't, then run. It's not that complicated. Okay, then let's go. Dong Xingyang and the other two nodded, their eyes flashing with a sharp light. Let's split up and kill all the 9-star combat emperors in the two provinces first. If there's a chance, continue to kill the combat masters. If there's no chance, then come closer to me and be ready to enter the castle at any time. Qin Feiyang warned. At the mention of the castle, Dong Xingyang and the others were full of confidence. Let's go. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and the 4 men and 1 wolf immediately split up and sneaked in different directions. The location of the 29-star combat emperors was still some distance away from Wan Qiu and the others. As long as they were quick, they could kill them all before Wan Qiu and the others arrived. Qin Feiyang went to the right side, where there were dense weeds along the way. 200 meters ahead, the two 9-star combat emperors were in a killing frenzy. In addition, Qin Feiyang deliberately concealed his aura, so the two of them did not notice him at all. Soon, Qin Feiyang lurked near the two men, hiding in the bushes. At the same time, Wolf King, Dong Zhengyang, Shenlong and Jiang Wei were already in place. Their eyes were filled with a strong murderous intent. Attack! Suddenly, Qin Feiyang let out a loud shout and leaped out from the underbrush like lightning. "Who's there?" This shout immediately alarmed everyone. One by one, they all turned to look at Qin Feiyang. "It's that pervert!" The twin sisters suddenly exclaimed. "Pervert? Is he Qin Feiyang?" The people of Yuzhou were all bewildered. "That's right. I'm the Qin Feiyang you're looking for." Qin Feiyang smiled coldly and his aura suddenly erupted. "How dare a mere 8-star combat emperor come out and cause trouble? You're courting death." The 9-star combat emperor from Yuzhou immediately abandoned the 9-star combat emperor from Kong province and turned to attack Qin Feiyang. Peeping at the two ladies bathing is an unforgivable crime. Surrender now and I'll leave you with a whole corpse. The 9-star combat emperor from Kong province also immediately attacked Qin Feiyang. Courting death? Surrender? I really don't understand. Who gave you the courage to say such words? Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. Boom! When he raised his arm, a terrifying invisible force surged out from the tip of his index finger and rushed toward the two men. Humph! The two men snorted coldly and activated their battle arts at the same time. They were very confident in their strength. Because in their understanding, there was an insurmountable gap between a 9-star combat emperor and an 8-star combat emperor. But the result was something they could not bear. Boom! Accompanied by an earth-shattering explosion, the invisible force crushed the two battle arts like a hot knife through butter and drowned the two of them. Ah! Screams suddenly resounded through the sky. The two men did not even have time to react before they were torn into pieces by the invisible force. Blood splattered everywhere and dyed the soil red. Trash! Qin Feiyang smiled disdainfully and attacked another battlefield. What a powerful combat strength! Seeing this scene, the pupils of the people from Yu province and the people who controlled it shrank. Even Wan Qiu's expression changed. At the same time, Wolf King, Dong Zhengyang, Shenlong and Jiang Wei also appeared and killed the two 9-star combat emperors near them. Dong Zhengyang and the other two were 1-star combat masters. Their cultivation was stronger than Qin Feiyang's. Killing 9-star combat emperors was like child's play to them. Of course. The most violent one was Wolf King. He used the void escape step and each of his claws grabbed a rib. Wherever he went, no one could compete with him. Moreover, the two 9-star combat emperors who died under his hands had their heads split open. It was extremely bloody. After killing their targets, they did the same as Qin Feiyang. They didn't delay for a moment and charged towards another battlefield. In just a moment, 10 9-star combat emperors died tragically on the spot. The combat masters of the two provinces were caught off guard by this unforeseen event. In addition, Qin Feiyang's strength shocked them. Therefore, when they came back to their senses, Wolf King, Qin Feiyang and the other two had already entered the next battlefield. Looking at the aggressive 4 men and 1 wolf, the remaining 10 9-star combat emperors, whether they were from Kong province or Yu province, had the first thought in their minds was to escape. However, Qin Feiyang, the other 3, and Wolf King came prepared. Moreover, whether it was in terms of speed or strength, they had an absolute advantage. They had no chance to escape. Ah! Accompanied by a series of shrill screams, the remaining 10 9-star combat emperors died one after another. All of this happened slowly, but the whole process took less than 3 breaths. A total of 29-star combat emperors from the 2 provinces were all killed. 4 men and 1 wolf each killed 4 9-star combat emperors. At this moment, Wan Qiu and the others had already come back to their senses, but it was too late. All they could see were the cold corpses. At the same time, Dong Xingyang and the other 2, along with Wolf King, moved closer to Qin Feiyang while sizing up Wan Qiu and the others. They wanted to see if there was a chance to kill 1 or 2 more combat masters. Suddenly, Wolf King's eyes locked onto a certain place. There were 2 young men in this place. One was from Yu province, the other was from Kong province. Both of them were combat masters. These 2 men were only 50 meters away from Wolf King, but they were more than 200 meters away from Wan Qiu and the others. It's them. Go! Wolf King roared and rushed towards the 2 men without hesitation. His character was like this. He would do what he said without any nonsense. Seeing this, Qin Feiyang, Dong Zhengyang, Shenlong, and Jiang Wei also immediately turned in the air and rushed towards the 2 men. You killed them and still want to kill us? You're courting death. When the 2 1-star combat masters saw the 4 men and 1 wolf rushing towards them, they were immediately enraged and rushed towards them without dodging. At the same time, Wan Qiu, the twin sisters, Feng Hua, and Feng Wuxia. In short, the combat masters of the 2 provinces moved out together, aiming at Qin Feiyang and the others. They all mastered superior auxiliary battle arts and were extremely fast. Especially Wan Qiu, who had mastered perfect auxiliary battle arts, it was as if he had crossed time and space. In the blink of an eye, he had closed half the distance. Not good. 3 2-star combat masters and 8 1-star combat masters. We can't beat such a lineup. It's better to retreat as soon as possible. That's right. We've already killed all the 9-star combat emperors. We can be considered to have avenged everyone. We can't kill 2 1-star combat masters. Dong Xingyang and the other 2 secretly transmitted their voices to Qin Feiyang and Wolf King. Wolf King shouted, "Don't be afraid. Brother and little Qin Zi are here. You just have to give it your all. Alright, we'll go crazy with you." The 3 of them gritted their teeth and began to perform their battle arts. Fiend God Seal. White Tiger Art, Tiger out of the cage. Quicksand Art, Sandstorm. In the blink of an eye, 3 great battle arts appeared. Dong Xingyang's battle art was a palm-sized square seal that emitted a pitch-black light. It was as if a peerless demon had appeared in the world, emitting a gloomy and cold aura. Shenlong's battle art was a white tiger that was more than 300 meters long. It was like a mountain in the sky, its ferocious aura was earth-shattering. Jiang Wei's battle art turned the surrounding soil and gravel into sand, forming a giant sandstorm. The wind whistled and released an astonishing destructive force. Kill! As soon as the 3 great battle arts were formed, Dong Zhengyang and the other 2 shouted. Their long hair fluttered in the wind and their aura was overwhelming. Boom! Immediately. Chapter 592. Seeing this, the pupils of the 2 1-star combat grandmasters constricted and they were somewhat hesitant. Because they could tell at a glance that Dong Xingyang and the other 2 were using superior battle arts. If they fought head-on, 2 against 3, they would definitely be at a disadvantage. But when they thought of Wan Qiu and the others who were rushing over to help, they were confident. Although the other party was a 1-star combat grandmaster, they were also 1-star combat grandmasters. In a battle of the same level, they would at most be injured. It was impossible to say that the battle arts of the 3 would kill them on the spot. And as long as they delayed for a while, when Wan Qiu and the others arrived, these people would undoubtedly die. Thinking of this, the 2 of them did not hesitate and began to use their battle arts, preparing to give it their all. Clang! However, at this moment, A deafening metallic sound reverberated between heaven and earth. A pitch-black chain, like a giant python, streaked across the sky and coiled around the two people before the three battle arts could reach them, binding them together. That's right. This was Dong Zhengyang's fighting soul. Shenlong and Jiang Wei were overjoyed when they saw the fighting soul. Obviously. They also knew the power of this fighting soul. But the two one-star combat grandmasters showed a disdainful look. A mere iron chain wanted to bind them, it was simply a fool's dream. But immediately after, their faces changed color. Freeze! With a low shout from Dong Zhengyang, the iron chain suddenly shone brightly and emitted an obscure aura. And the two of them were immediately frozen in the air as if they were frozen, unable to move at all. The two of them were scared silly. What kind of iron chain was this? How could it have such a terrifying ability? In the blink of an eye, the three battle arts arrived and slammed into the two people with overbearing momentum. Boom! Ah! Accompanied by an earth-shattering sound, the two of them suddenly screamed. In just an instant, the two of them were dripping with blood. Damn it! Seeing this, Wan Qiu and the twin sisters' eyes turned cold. Boom! Almost at the same time, the three of them raised their arms and struck out with their palms. Three terrifying waves of battle chi rushed toward Qin Feiyang and the others like a tide. Retreat! Dong Zhengyang shouted. Qin Feiyang's face darkened as he looked at the two one-star battle ancestors. Although the two of them were struck by the three great battle arts, they didn't lose their lives and were still breathing. If he didn't completely end their lives, the two of them would be full of energy again very soon. Thinking of this, Qin Feiyang hardened his heart and shouted, "White-eyed wolf." Understood. Wolf King roared as he grabbed two ribs and rushed towards the two men. Lunatic. Dong Zhengyang and the other two cursed loudly. Wan Qiu and the twin sisters had already made their moves. Anyone with a bit of rationality would have chosen to flee immediately. However, these two fellows actually made such a crazy move. One had to know that this was equivalent to gambling with their lives. You guys go to the castle first. But suddenly, Qin Feiyang's voice entered the three people's ears. What? The three of them were dumbfounded. Qin Feiyang wanted to fight against three two-star battle ancestors alone. Wasn't this nonsense? Absolutely not. Because in the current situation, Qin Feiyang was an indispensable key figure and must not have an accident here. However, without waiting for them to speak, Qin Feiyang waved his hand and the three of them felt their bodies lighten. The next moment, they appeared in the castle. Bastard! There must be a limit to your nonsense. Isn't this courting death? Immediately, the three of them were so angry that they stomped their feet in the castle. At the same time, outside, Qin Feiyang turned to face Wan Qiu and the twin sisters, his face as calm as water. You guys were still fighting fiercely before. Why are you all united against a common enemy when you see me? I'm really puzzled. Where did I offend you guys? Is it because I'm too outstanding that you feel threatened? His tone was also very calm. But in the ears of Wan Qiu and the other two, it didn't sound like this. They all felt that Qin Feiyang was teasing them. Shueruo said fiercely, "You damn pervert, I must dig out your eyeballs today. Sigh, I really didn't peek at you guys bathing. Why don't you believe me?" Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. He raised his right hand and a bright golden light burst out like a torrent, colliding with the battle chi of Wan Qiu and the other two. Boom! At this moment, the earth trembled. Qin Feiyang spat out a mouthful of blood and his arm shattered on the spot. Even his body was cracking, and the bloody wounds were shocking. The three two-star combat grandmasters were too powerful. He had a feeling that if he didn't find a way to stop it, his body would definitely be torn apart. Fight. Without hesitation. He decisively activated the battle formula. His eyes and long hair instantly turned blood-red. Endless fighting spirit shook the sky. The cracks on his body also stopped abruptly. Although they didn't heal, they didn't continue to crack. That was really dangerous. Qin Feiyang felt a lingering fear and raised his left hand again. Because the previous palm strike didn't reflect the battle chi of Wan Qiu and the other two. Boom! The golden light appeared again and turned into a bright waterfall that pounced on the battle chi. The two met again. Qin Feiyang's left hand was also shattered on the spot, flesh and blood flying everywhere. But this time, Wan Qiu and the other two's battle chi was finally reflected. Although this change was a bit sudden, Wan Qiu and the other two's reaction wasn't slow. They quickly used auxiliary techniques and quickly retreated to the side. Ah! It was also at this moment. Two screams sounded like pigs being slaughtered. Wolf King waved his ribs and mercilessly smashed the heads of the two one-star combat grandmasters. They died tragically on the spot. I'm going to kill you. Wan Qiu and the other two were completely enraged. 10 9-star combat grandmasters and 1 1-star combat grandmaster. This kind of loss was simply a disaster for Serene State and Kong State. Kill us? I might as well tell you that this is just the beginning. Whoever dares to touch the people around me, Qin Feiyang, will pay a heavy price no matter who it is. Remember my words, the next game will be even more fun. Qin Feiyang grinned and took Wolf King directly to the ancient castle. Where is he? Wan Qiu and the others from Serene State were suddenly surprised. He disappeared into thin air just like last time, damn it. The twin sisters were furious. Last time? Wan Qiu looked at them suspiciously. Xuening said, not long ago, we fought with him, and he used this method to escape. Wan Qiu said, it seems that I underestimated him. Although this person is only an 8-star combat emperor, his temperament and methods are extremely powerful. He is likely to be our biggest enemy in the 9 Nether Yellow Springs. I have a suggestion, let's form an alliance. At this moment, Feng Huo rushed over and said to Wan Qiu. The burly man from Serene State said, impossible, if it wasn't for your Kong State, how could Qin Feiyang have the chance to kill so many of us? If it wasn't for you, Qin Feiyang wouldn't have been able to kill so many people from Kong State. Feng Wuxia snorted coldly. Wan Qiu glanced at the 3 1-star battle ancestors on his side, then looked at Feng Wuxia and the others, and said, we can form an alliance, but the benefits we obtain in the 9 Nether Yellow Springs, we each want half. Of course. Feng Huo nodded and extended his hand with a smile, I wish us a pleasant cooperation. Wan Qiu just glanced at him indifferently and then turned his head away, his expression was full of disdain for Feng Huo. Feng Huo resentfully retracted his arm, but he wasn't angry. He turned to Feng Wuxia and said in a deep voice, go and call Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong, I feel that there is something fishy about this. The burly man from Serene State frowned, who are Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong? Feng Huo said, they are the kings of the inner palace of the spirit state. They were the ones who brought us here this time, and they were also the ones who instigated us to snatch the people of the spirit state. Heard of it. Wan Qiu's pupils shrank slightly. Could this be a conspiracy? A cold light flashed in his eyes as he turned to look at the burly man and said, you go too. If he's alive, I want to see him. If he's dead, I want to see his corpse. Understood. The burly man nodded his head heavily. Following that, Feng Wuxia and the burly man rushed towards the mountain ridge. All of this was clearly seen by Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong who were on top of the mountain. Murong Xiong retracted his gaze and looked at Dongfang Wuhan angrily, this is your plan? Tell me, what should we do now? I also didn't expect things to turn out like this. Dongfang Wuhan sighed deeply and nodded. This matter is indeed my fault. I neglected Shenlong and Jiang Wei, but I can't figure it out. When did they break through to the War Master? If Shenlong and Jiang Wei had not broken through to the War Master, then it would definitely be a different situation. Murong Xiong couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. The people of the Kong State and Yu State did not understand Shenlong and Jiang Wei, but they understood that it was absolutely impossible for them to break through to the War Master so quickly. This was because only a year had passed since the two of them broke through to the 9-star War Emperor. Suddenly, Dongfang Wuhan's eyes flashed, and he said, I think, it must be related to Qin Feiyang. It has something to do with him. Murong Xiong frowned. Dongfang Wuhan said, back then, when Qin Feiyang and Dong Qing fought in the Inner Palace, have you heard of it? Murong Xiong said, of course I've heard of it. At that time, Qin Feiyang was only a war king, but for some reason, his cultivation suddenly began to soar. Dongfang Wuhan continued, there's one more thing that I don't know if you've noticed, but anyone who has a good relationship with Qin Feiyang, their cultivation will suddenly increase by a large amount in a period of time. Is there such a thing? Murong Xiong frowned. In the past, when he was in the Inner Palace, he was basically in closed-door cultivation. As for the matters outside, as long as it wasn't a particularly big matter, he wouldn't ask about it, nor would he be interested in knowing. Yes. Although I'm also in closed-door cultivation, I've always had people inquire about Qin Feiyang. For example, Yan Nanshan, Lu Yun, Fan Jian, and Yi Yuanming. Especially Yi Yuanming, he was only a 5-star war emperor before, but ever since he met Qin Feiyang, not long after, I heard that he had already stepped into the War Master. Dongfang Wuhan said. Murong Xiong was extremely bewildered, this was too strange. I have a bold guess. Qin Feiyang must have some method, or some pill, that can raise someone's cultivation level in a short period of time. Dongfang Wuhan said in a low voice. Hearing this, Murong Xiong's eyes immediately lit up and asked, then, should we continue to follow the people from the Kong province, or should we go find Qin Feiyang and the others? It's no longer feasible to continue following the people from the Kong province. After all, they're not fools. They're probably already suspecting us. So we can only go find Qin Feiyang and the others. Firstly, our safety is guaranteed if we're with them. Secondly, we can also take the opportunity to investigate what method Qin Feiyang used to make Shenlong and Jiang Wei break through. Maybe, after we build a good relationship with him, he'll even help us improve our cultivation. Dongfang Wuhan laughed. Killing 2 birds with 1 stone, brilliant. Murong Xiong gave a thumbs up and laughed sinisterly, but suddenly frowned and said, we were still scheming against him before, are you sure he'll accept us again? Only we know that we're scheming against him, he doesn't know. If we really find him, he might even thank us. After all, we've also contributed to killing so many people from the Kong province. Dongfang Wuhan said with a chuckle, as if everything was under his control. Murong Xiong nodded and laughed, that's true, if we didn't bring the people from the Kong province here, it would be difficult for them to save Ren Wushuang and the others, let alone kill so many people. Let's go, Feng Wuxia and that big man should be coming for us, we can't let them catch us. After Dongfang Wuhan finished speaking, he turned around and jumped down, quickly disappearing into the jungle below. Chapter 593. In the castle. Although it was crowded at the moment, it was unusually quiet. Everyone's eyes were on Qin Feiyang and Wolf King, full of disbelief. If it were someone else, they wouldn't even have time to run in the face of the situation just now. Dong Xingyang and the other 2 were the best examples. They didn't have the courage to fight at all. But this man and Wolf didn't retreat at all and insisted on killing those 2 people. In the end, not only did they succeed in killing those 2 people, but they also escaped safely. Who in the world could compare with such amazing means and courage? It was no wonder that Qin Feiyang and Wolf King could have today's achievements. Wolf King glanced at the crowd and said proudly, "Do you think I'm very handsome now? You all want to be my little followers?" Ah! Some people were stunned. Some people shook their heads speechlessly. Wolf King chuckled and said, "If you want to, just say it. Don't hold it in. It's uncomfortable." Speaking of this, he changed the topic and said disdainfully, "But I don't want trash like you even if you want to pay." As soon as these words came out, everyone immediately stared at him angrily. What? Have you forgotten whose territory this is? The Wolf King stood up like a human and swept his gaze over everyone in an overbearing manner. Immediately, everyone's expression changed. "Brother Wolf, don't be angry. Yes, you are so wise and handsome. It's too degrading to argue with small people like us. It's not that we don't want to be your little followers. We know ourselves well. We don't have the qualifications. Yes, we don't even deserve to carry your shoes." Someone went up and smiled flatteringly. "That's more like it." Wolf King laughed and was beaming with joy. He enjoyed the feeling of being complimented. Qin Feiyang at the side couldn't help but roll his eyes when he saw this. Dong Zhengyang looked at Wolf King with a trace of contempt in his eyes. Then he looked at Qin Feiyang. Seeing that Qin Feiyang's hands were shattered and his body was covered in blood, he frowned and said, "Are you okay?" "It's nothing serious." Qin Feiyang softly smiled and deactivated the battle character tactic. Immediately, he felt dizzy and his body wobbled. Previously, with the support of the battle character formula, he didn't feel anything. However, as soon as he stopped using the battle character art, he felt extremely weak. Seeing that he was about to fall, Wolf King hurriedly stepped forward and supported Qin Feiyang. He roared, "Fatso, quickly give me the pill." Fatso quivered and quickly took out the regeneration pill and healing pill. He stood up and stuffed them into Qin Feiyang's mouth. The pill melted as soon as it entered his mouth, turning into a majestic energy that surged towards Qin Feiyang's limbs and bones. Qin Feiyang immediately felt that his body was like a dry desert, crazily absorbing this energy. His condition was also gradually improving. He shook his head forcefully and looked at Fatso and Wolf King. "I'm fine now. You guys go and cultivate. Don't waste time. Then be careful," Wolf King reminded. He turned into the size of a palm and landed on the altar. While cultivating, it was also convenient for him to monitor everyone. Qin Feiyang also sat cross-legged on the ground, quietly recovering from his injuries. Lu Xingchen walked up and sat next to Qin Feiyang. He chuckled and said, "Brother Qin, you guys are really awesome this time. Not only did you save us, but you also killed so many of them." Qin Feiyang turned his head and glanced at Lu Xingchen. He said lightly, "Then shouldn't you do something? After all, I'm your savior now." "Do something?" Lu Xingchen laughed and shook his head. "You owe me for now. Who knows, you might need my help one day." Qin Feiyang smiled. "If that day really comes, I just hope that Brother Lu won't take advantage of me. Am I that kind of person?" Lu Xingchen shook his head and smiled. "People's hearts are in their stomachs. Who knows?" Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. His words were somewhat meaningful. Lu Xingchen nodded. "That's true. No one can say for sure what will happen in the future." Then, the two of them fell silent. One of them cultivated, while the other recuperated. But Dong Zhengyang and the others looked at the two of them suspiciously. Why did this conversation sound so awkward? Was there something between the two of them that no one knew? However, everyone was tactful enough to not ask. A moment later, suddenly, a surprised voice sounded from outside. "Why are you guys the only ones back? Where are Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong?" It was Feng Hua's voice. "They're gone. Feng Wuxia's voice sounded, with a bone-chilling coldness. It seems that it really is a conspiracy. A mere spiritual state played you guys like a fool. Your Kong state is really a joke. It was Wan Qiu's voice, full of mockery. Feng Wuxia snorted. We were indeed too careless in this matter, but your Yuzhou state is no better. Otherwise, you wouldn't have seen through their conspiracy until now. Wan Qiu said expressionlessly, I don't talk to brainless people. Who are you talking about? Feng Wuxia raised his eyebrows and said coldly, do you want to fight again? Enough, stop arguing. Feng Hua shouted at this time, looking quite angry. But it was not directed at Feng Wuxia, nor at Wan Qiu. It was because they were schemed against by Dongfang Wuhan and felt very uncomfortable. Feng Hua said, although we were schemed against this time, we still have chips in our hands. Chips? Feng Wuxia and the others were stunned. At the same time, Qin Feiyang in the castle also had a trace of doubt in his eyes. Dong Xingyang and the others also frowned. What chips did these people have? Our chips are Ren Wushuang. Wan Qiu, you may not know, but this Ren Wushuang is the granddaughter of the spiritual state mansion's mansion lord. As long as we hold her firmly in our hands, Qin Feiyang will come to us sooner or later. Feng Hua said. The mansion lord's granddaughter? Wan Qiu was slightly taken aback and nodded. This is really an unexpected surprise. Let's go and find them, they should be nearby. So the group turned around and looked in the direction of the small valley. Inside the castle, Qin Feiyang and the others looked at each other. So this was the chip that Feng Hua was talking about. When they find that valley and see the situation there, their expressions will be very interesting. Shenlong smiled slyly. Jiang Wei said, how about we go out and take a look? Everyone looked at Qin Feiyang. After coming to this castle, they couldn't leave as they wanted. Only Qin Feiyang could send them out. Don't go and join in the fun. Although we won a great victory this time, the Kong state still has 2 2-star battle sect and 3 1-star battle sect. The Yu state also has 1 2-star battle sect and 3 1-star battle sect. And the Cloud state. Mo Wuxian and Yen Tianfeng are both veteran battle sect masters and can break through to 2-star battle sect at any time. As for Lu Yunfeng and Pei Sancher, although they have just broken through to 1-star battle sect, their strength cannot be underestimated. The most important thing is that the people of these 3 states all have irreconcilable enmity with us. Our current situation can be said to be besieged on all sides. It is extremely bad. Therefore, time is very important to us. Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice. Hearing this, everyone's faces were also filled with worry. Qin Feiyang continued, of course, it's not like we don't have a chance of winning. Everyone looked at Qin Feiyang in surprise. In this situation, they really couldn't find any hope of winning. But why did Qin Feiyang dare to say such a thing? Qin Feiyang said, I don't want to say much, but I can tell you with certainty that the final victory will definitely belong to us, the spirit state. Hearing this, everyone looked at each other. But gradually, the flames of hope burned in their hearts. They would doubt the words of others, but the words that came out of Qin Feiyang's mouth seemed to carry a magical power that made people involuntarily believe it. Qin Feiyang, if I don't kill you, I, Wan Qiu, swear that I am not human. Suddenly, an angry roar sounded from outside. Obviously, Wan Qiu and the others had already found the canyon. Ren Wushuang frowned and sighed. It seems that the enmity between us and the Yu state is already irreconcilable. Qin Feiyang said indifferently, it doesn't matter, sooner or later, either you die or I die. Ren Wushuang said, then what do you think we should do next? What we need to do now is to hide our strength and bide our time. Although this way, we will fall behind the other 8 states, but there is also an advantage. The people of the Cloud state, Kong state, and Yu state have appeared one after another, which means that the people of the other states may have also entered the death swamp. At that time, as long as they meet, a battle will be unavoidable. Qin Feiyang said. You want them to fight first, and then we go out and take advantage of them? Dong Xingyang asked. That's right. Qin Feiyang nodded and sneered, as long as you want to go to the imperial capital, no one will be able to escape unscathed. In fact, his real purpose was to wait for Wolf King. As long as Wolf King broke through to the War Master realm, even Wan Qiu, who had mastered perfect auxiliary battle arts, was nothing to worry about. Ren Wuxuang pondered for a moment and said, All right, we'll listen to you. Let's hide our strength and bide our time. Everyone was preparing to go into seclusion, but at this moment, a familiar voice sounded from outside. Qin Feiyang, are you there? It was Dongfang Wuhan. Dongfang Wuhan had some understanding of the ancient castle, so after Wan Qiu and the others left, he brought Murong Xiong to the place where Qin Feiyang had disappeared. What is he doing here? Dong Xingyang immediately frowned. Shenlong and Jiang Wei also had looks of disgust. Even Wu Yan and Su Yang had faces full of anger. Someone sneered, I think they must have run back to us because they have nowhere else to go. Senior brother Qin, back then they heartlessly abandoned us and killed so many of our people. Now we don't care about their lives and let them fend for themselves outside. Another person followed. Jiang Wei and Shenlong both nodded in agreement. Because they all knew Dongfang Wuhan's ambitions, they definitely could not let these two get close to everyone. Qin Feiyang shook his head, No, I think we can let them in. What? Are you stupid? Shenlong and Jiang Wei looked at him in disbelief. Don't worry, I have my own plans. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and said to the two of them, I'll go out and meet them first. You guys tell everyone about their conversation on the mountain so that everyone can be mentally prepared. What conversation? Ren Wuxuang and the others were suspicious. Shenlong smiled coldly and said, The people from the Kong region were brought here by them. Their plan is also very good. They want to take advantage of the situation and kill us all. Shenlong and Jiang Wei took turns to narrate the story to everyone. At the same time, you're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.